Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, education, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
Hey, John, what do you want us to take away from this extraordinary series of yours?
Well, I want people who are not Latin to have Latin envy and wish they had been born Latin, and for Latin people to realize, damn, being Latin is a superpower, man. I mean, the things that we've suffered in this country, 500 years, our wealth was stolen from us. We were lynched. We were burned, shot alive. We've been the only American citizens that have ever been deported by the millions. And yet we contribute and we build and we thrive.
Various groups, feminist, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, I mean, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks. We've done to the immigrants. We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country. Perhaps they're dropping the blacks and moving on to the Hispanics because they're a larger group of Hispanics now. But could I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
To me, if you have been here for 5 years, and you do not have a criminal record, you will be able to go on the dignity status for 7 years.
That status is like a probation period.
You will not be deported. You will not lose your assets. You can work anywhere in the country. You will pay taxes.
And there would be an additional tax.
A new levy of 1.5 withholding, called the dignity levy, will be held from your paycheck. You will not have access to any government program and will have to buy your own health insurance.
And another charge.
You will pay $700 a year for 7 years, and that adds up to around $5,000. Those $5,000 will represent around $45 billion.
This is provided that the undocumented immigrants total 10 million, but there are more.
And that fund will go to pay for border security. The other bucket of money, the 1.5, will go to re-educate or retrain any American who believes that he or she has lost his opportunity, his job opportunity, to an undocumented.
Some of the other legislators who support the bill said they are aware that it is not perfect. They said it's better than doing nothing.
It was a great job with heart these days.
You late again, Eddie.
I know what you've been trying to do. You ain't gonna do it. See, Big Red done pulled my coattail to you a long, long time ago.
That's bullshit, Eddie. You talking crazy.
I'm crazy like a mother fox. And you, I can see through your jive ass like glass, nigga.
Eddie, you got it all wrong, man.
Stealing my moves. My style, nigga. Even trying to riff like me.
Hey, man, why don't you get your boy out of here and detox him?
You on my spot, Flash? Slum-dwelling, scum-sucking, slug-ass motherfucker. You on my spot, Flash? Huh? Well, you ain't gonna get it, cause you ain't got it.
These kind of boys seems innocent, Boogie. Got everybody on the post thinking he's a strong black buck. White boys envy his strength, his speed, power in his swing. Then this colored champion lets those same white boys call him Shine or Sambo.
Whoa,
and he just smiles.
Dream about the time when I was a little boy.
Can't talk.
The night would get
Can barely read or write his own name. And don't care. He'll tell you they like him. Or that colored folks ain't supposed to have but so much sense.
Yes, he would.
You know the damage one ignorant Negro can do. We were in France in the First War. We'd won decorations. But the white boys had told all them French gals that we had tails. Then they found this ignorant colored soldier. Paid him to tie a tail to his ass and run around half naked making monkey sounds. They put him on a big round table in the Cafe Napoleon. Put a reed in his hand. Crown on his head. Blanket on his shoulders and made him eat bananas in front of all them Frenchies. Oh, the white boys danced that night. Passed out leaflets with that boy's picture on it. Called him Moonshine. King of the monkeys. And when we slit his throat, you know that fool asked us what he had done wrong. My daddy told me we got to turn our backs on his kind, Wilkie. Close our ranks to the chitlins, the collard greens, the cornbread style. We are men, soldiers, and I don't intend for our race to be cheated out of its place of honor and respect in this war because of fools like CJ. You watch everything he does. Everything.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. His fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press to rewrite history or retell history, and since the white man can't dispute this truth, it's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate, that's truth.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is We Up Report. First, before we get into all the things that I must say, I got to go ahead and give out to my executive producers, and there were some other brothers who also contribute. So let's get this out of the way before I get into all the other stuff, right? We're going to go first with our executive producer who always come through tried and true. We're going to give a Cash App appreciation out to Mr. Spencer 0620 for his Cash App that he sent to the show. Anytime somebody come and give through, we always appreciate it. Our family mind. Always tip our hat off. This brother has been consistent. This is a thorough brother, always on time. One day I'm going to tell y'all, when those of you who contribute to this show, I'm going to let you know in the back scene what that contribution has allowed me to be able to do. Another brother that came through, again, thank you, Mr. Spencer 0620. Appreciation to Patru L. Will with a Cash App. Another brother, another thorough brother, another brother that come through, always on time. Again, as I'm saying, it's brothers like this. And there is also a sister that I want to give her also, but we're not going to shine on this. I won't talk about her, but there's a sister that is trying. And we're trying to find a way. She should still be out there, subscribe. But True Air Will, hats off to you, brother. Thank you kindly for your contributions. With me and my family, we thank you. And then we got one more brother that came through. Another brother name was Dub, came through with a Cash App. We appreciate his contributions. Another one. Again, these brothers here who help to allow Mr. Blow Your Mind to do what I do the research and stuff, have those shows ready in preparations. It is brothers like this what makes this why I do what I do, not so much about that, but it shows that there's some appreciation, and I appreciate you for what y'all do. Now, again, there's a sister out there who is trying, and we're trying to find a way. I ain't forget about you, sister. You know who you are. We're going to try to make that happen if we can. Now, pass it by. You have to pass by. This is the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Been in the business going on 11 years. Having to go down the aisle, see something to make you feel some kind of way. Remember, the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. So some of you might have clicked on due to the title, may have been to the thumbnail. But what is today's show about, Mr. Blows Your Minds? The strings of powers that be. Let me say that one more again. The strings of power that be, right? There's always some hit aspects, and we have to kind of look at. Sometimes we see people come out and do things. They look like us. If we go on the basis of just color, sometimes some other things might be different. We might be from different geographical locations, different understandings and environments. And the thing that I want to question, some of the things I did see, is that why is it that there are some people who know that the position that they take is actually in opposition of itself, but they are used to spin it to convince others that it is shows like mine and others that what we speak about and what the history has shown, that something is wrong with us, right? And so we're going to touch about that on some things that I've seen, some topics and so forth. And that is going to be the theme that we're going to tread on, the strings of powers that be. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and get into this, right? So I seen, again, as you see on your screen there, you see this presidential candidate name is Tim Scott. I seen him on The View. And let's see some of the things that he said as we're going to warm up and get up into this show. Listen to this and be right back.
You are the first black senator elected in the South since the Reconstruction. That would be about 114 years. Yet you say that your life disproves leftist lies. And
yes.
My question to you is, I'm the exception, right? You're the exception. Maybe even Miss Whoopi Goldberg is the exception.
Oh, she's definitely the exception.
But we are not the rule. And so when it comes to racial inequality, it persists in 5 core aspects of life in the U.S. Economics, education, healthcare, criminal justice, and housing. At nearly every turn, these achievements were fought, threatened, and erased, most often by white violence. You have indicated that you don't believe in systemic racism. What is your definition of systemic racism?
Let me answer the question that you've answered.
Or does it even exist in your mind?
Let me answer the question this way. One of the things I think about, and one of the reasons why I'm on the show, is because of the comments that were made, frankly, on this show, that the only way for a young African-American kid to be successful in this country is to be the exception and not the rule. That is a dangerous, offensive, disgusting message to send to our young people today, that the only way to succeed is by being the exception. I will tell you that if my life is the exception, I can't imagine.
But it is.
But it's not, actually. It's
been 114 years.
Yeah, so the fact of the matter is we've had an African-American president, African-American vice president. We've had 2 African-Americans to be secretaries of the state.
And you are the first black senator.
Okay, you take that part off. All right, so we back, right? So that was the candidate running for president. Tim Scott is also senator of South Carolina, right? And he was on The View. And, you know, when we see somebody of our skin, supposed to be of our kin, we kind of want to support, but sometimes they hold positions that we question and we say, wait a minute, well, what stance are you on? Am I seeing things from a skewed perspective, or are you seeing it right? Or maybe is there some, again, as you see on your screen, somebody pulling strings to make you, you know, say the things that you say. It's like our eyes are lying to us. The history that has been told to us is not true. Stories that we see continuously in here, and it's like, what is there to gain when brothers and sisters are taking that position against themselves, trying to sell something? When we understand positivity, we understand being optimistic, but we also cannot lie about situations so that it makes it seem as if like everything is good when things are not good. So let's look at some of the stuff that he talked about, because again, he's running for president. Now, do he got a chance in the snowball in hell? Exactly, right? A snowball in hell ain't got no chance. As a matter of fact, Dubs, I see you, brother. Aboriginal, you said that's you? All right, so I gave you recognition to you, brother. Aboriginal of knowledge. So what's good to you, sir? And again, appreciation for your contributions to the show. Now he says lies of systemic racism. Now, you know, a lot of people will act as if like this is some far-fetched notion, or this is one of those cards that we as black people play to not take responsibilities for our own life, as if there has been no contributing factors to it. And so it looks like there's always an audition for them, always looking for the new black person to be the one to spend it to. Let me say that one more again for those of the paper over the window. They seem like they're always in a, let's say, there's always an addition and there's always an opening for them looking for a new candidate, a new boy or girl to come along to try to spin the narrative to make the rest of those of us who may see it in a different light, that they need to tell us that what we see and what we understand is to be wrong. So as he talked about racism, right? Matter of fact, when you think about systemic racism, when you talk about racism resulting from the inherent biases and prejudice of the policies and practice of social and political organizations, groups, or institutions, right? That's why it is being called institutional racism, right? Put that back up on there. Yeah, we can go back to that now. But leave that because we don't want them to see in that part there. That's fine, right? Right? So when you think about that, they say that the origin of this term of systemic racism goes back to the Black Power movement when you talk about activists like Charles Hamilton, Stokely Carmichael, aka Kwame Ture, right? And they say that the reason for this is because it's a distinguishing from individual racism and more overt, right? So you think about that when you're talking about inherent, something that is inherent, right? It's a part of it, right? You can't separate something when it's inherited. It's part of it. They go together. Like in order to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you can't separate the peanut butter nor the jelly. In order to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you're going to have to accept both. And so when they talk about policies and practices, talking about with social and political, and saying that the organizations and groups that use it, everybody wants to be in denial as if there aren't things that are set that way, that there are not policies that they even have, that they talk about benign neglect. Is that true, or did we make that up? So when you have somebody like him who says that, we're like, wait a minute, come on, man. We understand you got the job. You know, everybody said they had to be politically correct at the job. You have to code switch. We get all that. But you also are doing damage because those people who sit at home, who, let's say, for instance, that side that you take upon, because again, is it really about sides? Is it about politics? Or is it really just what it is that this country, the foundation of what has been built on? So some people agree, some people not agree. Right? You always gonna have that. And as you heard her say, she even gave you some brownie points. Right? Sonny gave him some brownie points when she tried to say it was only 114 years ago, him being the first black senator, since Reconstruction. Right? But actually, when you think about it, 1877 was the end of Reconstruction. So we take 1877 to today, we're actually talking about 146 years. So when you're talking about somebody, when you say he went, again, they're going to use the word exception, and he don't want to define himself or say that people who talk about exception as the rules, like when we have people, when they talk about the first black, the first, is that kind of the exception? When you ain't never had none, it's all been white, and then you get a black, right? Is that an exception to the rule of what they've been going? But you don't like to be the exception to saying that black people don't have to be the exception in order to attain things. But the truth of the matter is, you are exception. Not that we have to be exceptional, but you are exception to the rule of the game that they play when they get you. And then the question becomes, why are they putting you in there? So when you go back to that time of day, you're talking about Hiram Rose Rebel. That was the first senator, or the one they put in Congress back in 1870. And then when you talk about a female, you're talking about Carol Moseley Braun. That was in 1993. Now that's about 30 years ago. She was the first as a woman. So we can sit here and say the first in things and act as if like saying first makes everything that happened prior to this is progress. People want to say that's progress to us. How's that progress? When you still talk about the first, that tells us somebody has had a dominance, right? Somebody has run the board. Somebody had a Boston in spades. They've been running the board, and finally you want a book. And then they say, see, it's not what you think it is. And then what they do is, like I said, they recruit somebody like himself. Okay? Now, let's look at some of the stuff. Because again, now, he's going to go in now because he's trying to defend himself. And remember, he's a Republican. Now, some people may be Republican and Democrat. That's your choice. Again, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people believe, again, two wings on one bird. And so here's a person who comes from those of us who come from those rebel nations of the southeastern part of what they call the United States, what we call down south, where the origins of where our lineage come from. He comes from that. But he's in a position that he's working in the big house. He's working in master house. And we're going to talk about that later on too. I'm going to show you some stuff about that. And he has to perform. He has to do that things, right? But then what detriment are you doing? Now listen to what he says is answering to about education. And there's a lot of people who believe this, but I want y'all to hear this and be right back.
I took the funding for HBCUs to the highest level in the history of the country, and then I helped make it permanent, is because I believe that education is the closest thing to magic in America. So I'm about making sure that our kids have as many opportunities to succeed as possible. So I took the funding for HBCUs to the highest level in the history of the country, and then I helped make it permanent, is because I believe that education is the closest thing to magic in America. So I'm about making sure that our kids have as many opportunities to succeed as possible. So I took the funding for HBCUs to the highest.
Are we back, right? So you heard what he just said, right? That's what he believes, right? He believes that. Now, I'm not here to tell you that education in itself is not something that you could obtain, that is not beneficial, and that it doesn't help one maybe to prepare to do certain things. But if you want to make it, you want to act as if like it cures all evils because you get it. Well, there's many of our people who are highly educated, highly in debt, and yet can't utilize the paper that is written on. Because why? There's no avenues for that. Because you can have the education, but you got to have a place to be able to use it. And because of the people being disenfranchised for centuries, how does he believe that education is going to all of a sudden, again, cure all? Matter of fact, it really is about individualism. Really, a lot of them that talk about this education, it's about individualism. And these are some of the things that some people you hear talking, they use education like a kickstand to say that as an individual may strive and do the things to achieve, but that's one individual. So that tells me you're all about self. You're not looking collectively. You take it away from the team and you become, well, you just a score. You getting your 30, your 40 points. The hell with the rest of the damn team. You could score 30, 40 like me. Well, what happens when you have a team that have 2, 3 cats on the squad that can score 30 points? You know what end up happening? There ain't enough time on the clock and there ain't enough balls to shoot, right? So that means everybody can't be a scorer. You may have 1 or 2, but it's rarely you can have 3 and 4 because, again, there's not enough time and there's not enough shot attempts and there's not enough balls. So when people start using this individualism aspect, that's a way to try to act like, well, you just didn't apply yourself. And you could do what I do if you just applied yourself. But do y'all ever ask yourself, everybody is not studious. All of us was in school. And even in school, even if you want to say being competitive, there's still people when you're on the scale, there's people who are on the lower part of it, and there's people who are on the higher. It's not made for everybody to be equal in it. There's always going to be some deficiencies, and there's going to be learning scales and differences. And so what happens, even if all of them were to obtain an education, but there's not all of them will be able to be employable or be able to utilize it to the fullest. But people want to believe that because that makes you don't have to look at the past, don't have to look at what done happened and try to say that the race is even because we obtained this same diploma. But other people, as I go on, I'm gonna show you something. We're gonna get into it. So let me go ahead. So here he is. He said he took the funding of HBCUs to the highest level in the history of the country. Right? He said he took the funding, right? So he's took the money that he got going to the HBCUs, and now he's saying because he's going to be running for president, he took that funding. Look, see, somebody like him with the background he got, he's taking this and he went into, now he's going to run for being president. Okay. All right. Some people aspire to that, and they say that is success. But we're going to see. We're going to see. So he said, I made a permanent in education to, right? He said he did something. I want to show you what he's talking about. He said he made something in education to make it permanent. What he did is he made a bill. And in this bill that he did, let me show you the bill. This is the bill he's talking about right here, right? That's the HBCU partner Partnership Act. It's the Senate Bill 461. He introduced this bill back in February 12th of 2019. And really, he says he doesn't believe in systemic racism. Then why did you have to go make a bill like this? This bill really is about the legal rights for HBCUs to participate in federal grants. Let me say that one more again. This bill that it went off? Hold on, y'all, hold on. We got some technical difficulties going over here, right? All right, there we go. So again, he believes there's no systemic racism. And then he goes and does this bill you see, this HBCU Partnership Act, Senate 461. And basically what this bill is about legal rights for HBCUs to participate in federal grants and to have reports yearly into how to strengthen ways for them to make sure that they're getting. So that means that tells me that somebody is making sure you don't get allocated proper funding that's coming from federal. Right? So why would that be? Who needs to make sure that you're not getting proper funding? And if they're not giving it to you, who is it going to? Is it going to some of them what they call PWIs? Or was that public white institution or private white institutions, right? So are they grab bagging more of the funds than everybody else? And so you saying that, this is your way of trying to help to give back? Okay, well, we're going to see. Now, you're going to have to stay tuned because I'm going to come with something. I'm going to come with something, right? Now, when you think about HBCUs, most people think that HBCU is for Black folks. There's nothing in this country that is strictly for Black people. Let me say that one more again for those with the paper over the window. There is nothing in this country that is strictly for Black people. I know you thought the NAACP, right? You found out that wasn't true. What other organization you think that is strictly for Black people? There is nothing in here because it would be considered what? Unconstitutional. So that tells you that HBCUs is open for anybody who falls under color, right? So they'll tell you that there's 73% of Black people that attend HBCU. There's 11% of the student body who are white. There's about 5% of the student body who is of Hispanic. There's about 9.7 of this other backgrounds. I don't know what that means. And there's also 2.5 of international students in there, right? Okay, so you got people that from all the walks of life that come to HBCUs and they said, okay, well, we utilize it too. So, but the thing is that 73% is that Black Americans. Is that Black Americans? A lot of people like to think that because a lot of people don't want us to break it down. So he goes on and he's going to say this. Now we're going to get this. Now listen to this, what he's going to say. Check this out. I'm going to show y'all something.
Palpable. It can be measured in generations. I look back at the fact that my grandfather, born in 1921 in Sally, South Carolina, when he was on a sidewalk, a white person was coming, he had to step off and not make eye contact. That man believed then, with some doubt now, in the goodness of America, because he believed that having faith in God, faith in himself, and faith in what the future could hold for his kids would unleash opportunities in ways that you cannot imagine.
All right. Okay. So he used the word palpable. Palpable. So, sometimes what they do is they want to confuse you and throw a word. And yet you be like, okay, you think you understand, but you don't know what the word he really uses. It's kind of like emancipation. A lot of people like to say we were emancipated, but they ain't really looked at what does emancipation really mean. Is it law? What is it? Is this an announcement? What is it? But anyway, so he's saying palpable, which just meaning easily perceptible, plain or obvious or manifest. So he's saying that you could change your position with education and you could see it in a generation. When you use that word palpable, you say usually it refers to some type of where they talk about egregious wrong, right? Egregious wrong, a government error. Now, he doesn't want to admit that there's anything wrong, like him and a lot of people. They don't want to admit that there's ever actually been anything damn wrong. That everything that done happened to it is all about individualism, lack thereof, pursuit, or not finishing, right? And those who finish, they are the chosen ones. And the rest of us is, well, you just weren't cut out to be made that way. Okay, well, we're going to see, right? We're going to see that if it's really what these people who say they get in front of us and tell us this stuff, but then when you look at who they are and how they got in, they don't tell you that part. Okay. And so he's saying that you can be measured in a generation. And then he tells you about his grandfather was born in 1921 and he stepped off on the sidewalk because at the time of his grandfather, they had to give the right of way to white folks, right? That's what he said. We had to give the right of way to white folks. We couldn't just do what we want because if we did that, it was breaking some kind of rules. Well, did y'all know? Did you know that there was a such thing as a racial etiquette? Have y'all ever heard that there was a racial etiquette? Racial etiquette. Oh, you don't know about that, dude. Nobody gonna tell you that, but let me show you something. Put on that screen for me there, sir. Right? That's right there. That's what that's called, right? Racial etiquette. Let me tell you about why he told you about his granddaddy in 1921. And he said that his granddaddy at that time could foresee the future for the day he was using that education he got. And this is the great place that he called. Now, again, we're not here. We don't hate the United. Well, we don't hate America or the country that they call the United States because we have a lot invested in this. We have sweat equity. We have lineage equity. We got a lot of equity in this place. So a lot of people will take the stuff that I say and the things that some of you may talk about and also agree with, that's what we do. We hate this country. No. We're far from the truth from that. That's not what it is. But we know the disadvantages and disenfranchisement and everything else that the game is slanted. We haven't got our fair cut. And then we see the things that is happening. We have to say, hey, man, it is what it is. So people don't like that. We're going to tell the truth. But let me show you something about this racial equity. Racial etiquettes. Now, did you know? Okay, most Southern white Americans who grew up prior to 1954 expected Black Americans to conduct themselves according to the well-understood rituals of behavior. This ritual etiquette governed the actions, manners, and attitudes and words of all Black people when in the presence of white people. To violate these racial etiquettes placed on one's very life and the lives of one of families at risk. Blacks were expected to refer to white males in positions of authority as boss, captain, a title of respect that replaced master or master used in slave times. Sometimes the white children of one white employer or a prominent white person might be called massa to show special respect. If a white person was well known, a Black servant or hired hand or tenant might speak in somewhat intimate terms, addressing the white person as Mr. John or Miss Mary. All Black men, on the other hand, were called by their first names or were referred to as boy, uncle, and old man, regardless of their age. If the white person did not personally know a Black person, the term nigger or nigger fella might be used. In legal cases in the press, Blacks were also referred to by the word Negro with a first name attached, such as Negro Sam. At other times, the term Jack or some common name was universally used in addressing Black men not known to the white speaker. On the Pullman sleeping cars on trains, for example, all the Black porters answered the name of Boy or simply George after the name of George Pullman, who owned and built the Pullman sleeping cars, right? Whites much prefer to give Blacks honorary titles such as doctors or professors or reverends in order to avoid calling them Mr. Let me say that one more again for those with the paper over the window. Whites would much prefer to give black honorary titles such as doctor, professor, reverend in order to avoid calling them Mr. While the term nigger was universally used, some whites were uncomfortable with it because they knew it was offensive to most blacks. As a substitute, the word negra often appeared in polite society. Black women were addressed as auntie or girl. Let me say that one more again. Black women were addressed as auntie or girl. Under no circumstance would the title Miss or Ms. be applied. A holdover from slavery days was the term wench, a term that showed in legal writings and depositions in the Jim Crow era. Some educated whites referred to black women as the words colored ladies. Sometimes just the word ladies was used. White women allowed black servants and acquaintances to call them by their first name, but with the words Miss attached as a modifier, like Miss Ann, Miss Julie, Miss Scarlett. This practice of addressing blacks by words denoted disrespect or inferiority reduced black persons to non-persons. Let me say that one more again. This practice of addressing blacks by words that denoted disrespect or inferiority reduced the black person to a non-person, especially in the newspaper accounts. In reporting incidents involving the black, the press usually adopted the general neutral term Negro, thus distinguishing blacks as lifeless and unknown persons. Let me say that one more again. The press usually adopt the gender neutral term Negro, thus designating blacks as lifeless and unknown persons. For example, an accident report might read like this. Rescuers discovered 2 women, 3 women, 4 children, and 5 Negroes were killed by the explosion. In general, blacks and whites could meet and talk on the street almost always. However, the rules of racial etiquette require blacks to be agreeable, non-challenging, even when the white person was mistaken about something. Let me say that one more again. In general, black and white people could meet and talk on the streets almost always. However, the rules of racial etiquette require blacks to be agreeable and non-challenging, even when the white person was mistaken about something. Usually, it was expected that blacks would step off the sidewalk when meeting whites or else walk on the other side of the walk, thereby giving whites the wall. Let me say that one more again. Remember, that's what Tim Scott said? Ain't that what Tim Scott said? Usually it was expected that blacks would step off the sidewalk when meeting whites or else walk on the other side or the other street side of the walk, thereby giving whites the wall. Under no circumstance could a black person assume an air of equality with whites. Black men were expected to remove their caps and hats when talking with a white person. Those whites, moreover, was associated with blacks is too friendly in casual manner, ran the risk of being called a nigger lover. Blacks and whites were not expected to eat together in public. It wasn't okay for blacks to enter a restaurant to buy food and take it out and stand at the end of the lunch counter until the order was taken. Usually they would then leave and wait outside for the food to be brought to them. Some places allow blacks to eat in the kitchen. Nor were black customers always allowed to use store implements such as plates or dishes or even boxes. Black customers commonly brought their own pails and buckets to be filled. Let me say that one more again. Black customers always were allowed to use the store, were not allowed to use the store implements. They couldn't use the plates, dishes, or even the boxes. Black customers commonly had to bring their own to be filled. White owners of clothing stores didn't allow blacks to try on clothing as a general rule, fearing that white customers would not buy clothes worn by Africans or blacks. Some stores did allow blacks to put on the clothing over their own clothes to try on hats or other scarves or their head. Shoes were never tried on as a general rule, but most white clerks did allow exact measurements to be made. In most towns, black customers knew which stores they could be expected to treat them with respect while breaking the rules of racial etiquettes. Many public places, parks, and entertainment centers excluded blacks altogether. After 1890, frequently by law, if not by custom, signs were often posted equating blacks with animals. Negroes and dogs not allowed. In some communities, blacks could attend public performances, but only by using separate entrances in the back, via in the alley. In public halls, theaters, and movie houses, they always stayed upstairs in the so-called nigger heavens, buzzard roost. Even in the annual state fairs would have a colored day, allowing the black population to attend only on specific days. Law rather than custom separated the races in public transportation. But local habits of racial etiquette usually determine how the statutes were implemented. Some towns and municipalities put blacks in the rear of the streetcar, while others required them up front, where they could be watched by the car's operator. Customs did not allow motormen or conductors to assist black women with bags or parcels. Some municipal codes require blacks to be seated from the front of the rear, while others allow blacks to sit anywhere they wanted in the black section. In general, it was expected that blacks would give up their seat to white passengers during peaks of crowded times. Some towns require separate entrances to public buildings, with blacks using only one entry and whites use another. In most cases, white clerks in stores and ticket stands always served white customers first. Although no state or municipal laws required this practice, signs in the black section waiting room at a train station, for example, customarily warned against loafing, spitting, and unacceptable behavior. No such signs were usually displayed in the white section. Nor did blacks generally eat in the dining car on trains, and if they were allowed to eat there, a drawn curtain separated one or two colored tables from the rest of the car. These rules did not make exceptions. However, the black nurses and nannies who accompany white children or elderly white people on trains and streetcars, the color line and the codes of racial etiquette were also strictly observed in public hospitals with separate wards for whites and blacks. Black nurses were allowed to minister to whites, but not the other way around. If a black person needed an ambulance, for example, a private black-owned operated wagon or auto would have to be obtained. No exceptions were allowed, no matter the extent of the injury or emergency. A similar Jim Crow code of conduct applied even in the United States Army. It was not until Eleanor Roosevelt intervened in World War II that black nurses were allowed to care for white soldiers, even though a serious shortage of nurses existed. Black nurses were used prior to Roosevelt's intervention to attend to German prisoners of war rather than the U.S. soldiers. Huh? Ain't that something, y'all? The whole intent of the Jim Crow etiquette boiled down to one simple rule. Listen good. Blacks must demonstrate their inferiorities to whites by action, words, and manners. The whole intent of Jim Crow etiquette boiled down to one simple rule. Blacks must demonstrate their inferiority to whites by action, words, and manners. Law supported this racist code of behavior, or whenever racial customs start to weaken or break down in practice, as they did during the Reconstruction era, when the laws were weakly or slowly applied, whites resorted to violence against blacks to reinforce the customs and standards of behaviors. Indeed, white commonly justified lynching and horrible murders of blacks during the Jim Crow era as defense actions taken in response to black violations of the color line and rules of racial etiquette. Okay? Now, that's what he was talking about, that his granddaddy could see the future, living in that era and time, that he could foresee that his grandson would be what he is today. And here's the same people today who say when we talk about history and that how we gonna make somebody feel shameful, but we and our ancestors and people, and again, you gotta remember, this isn't like this was 100 years ago. Jim Crow to civil rights. So that means the people who from Jim Crow to civil rights and the children of Gen X is of civil rights. So that ain't that long ago. But we supposed to act like none of that happened. And they had to find somebody like him to say, hey, we're wrong about what we're saying. We're making this up. We're playing the race card. So the question becomes, does it just go away? Okay, I got a couple messages up here. I got Aboriginal of knowledge. Nothing has changed. I see some of those rules still apply. Exactly, right? They still apply. They're still there. They haven't really gone anywhere. It's just out of sight, out of mind. And again, when we started to see a lot of the stories that kept coming out, and those of you who've been watching my show for a while, remember I talked about the standard of civilization. Remember I did that show. I showed you that Felicia Rashad, Sha'Carri Richardson, and a couple other ones, and the one that went to the Olympics, and how they grabbed these black women and they was actually penalizing them. And I told you, I said, well, it was because they broke standard of civilization. They broke the code. When Felicia Rashad tried to defend Bill Cosby, when they was demonizing him, they got her for that, right? That's what they did. They got her for that. So, you know, some people will try to deny and they want you to forget, or many of you who don't know. And then you have people in your family who may not speak, or they act like you don't know nothing about it. It's possible. But this is the things that we were living in and living through. And so this is our history. If it's offensive because it's our history, is it our fault that this is the history that we must tell? And again, everybody retains their history to pass down, so you don't want it to happen again to a future generation. So that's why we as WeUpReport, we do news, but we also inculcate the history as well. Now, listen to this was said in that show, as here's Joy Behar, who looking at him, and then listen to what they say after that. Listen, let's be right back.
Notably absent from today's panel was Joyless Behar, who came under fire for her previous comments accusing Scott of not understanding racism. Remember these comments?
And he's one of these guys who, you know, he's like Clarence Thomas, black Republican who believes in pulling yourself by your bootstraps, rather than, to me, understanding the systemic racism that African Americans face in this country and other minorities. He doesn't get it, neither does Clarence. Right. And that's why they're Republicans.
Notable presidential candidate Tim Scott is with us with more about today's appearance. Don't you like being lectured by a white liberal about what it's like to be to have an African-American experience in America? I've read your book. I've read Clarence Thomas's book. I know your life story. I know Clarence's life story. Neither one of you had it easy in the early part of your lives at all.
Plastic spoons, not silver spoons. But more importantly, Sean, you hit the nail on the head. Can you imagine an extreme liberal, an elitist telling me how to be a black man in America when she's a white lady who dresses up in blackface? I can't believe the hypocrisy that comes out of that show sometimes. It is the height of hypocrisy to suggest that I'm the exception when, in fact, their policy positions as the radical left creates a rule that simply says that in order for us to be successful, you have to go to a failing school. You have to stay in your place. You can't go up as high as you possibly can the ladder. You have to actually stay at the bottom. Literally, they're suggesting that the rule that they want keeps poor kids in failing schools, keeps minorities at the bottom of the ladder, and then they remove the rungs of the ladder to climb. We are a meritocracy. Your talent, your character, your grit take you as high as you're willing to climb. But according to their policies, they take the first three rungs of the ladder out.
Presidential candidate Tim Scott is with us with more about today's appearance.
All right, we back, right? Okay, so you heard what he said. Now again, politician, right? Politics. And a lot of times people are saying things that sometimes they're just going over people's head or they swoon you with their words. And the thing is, it's like everybody has their own perspective. Like other people can't really discern from our perspective of what it is they want to tell us our position, and yet they don't live the life that we live. And the things that we endure, even though they don't want us to talk about the persisting perpetualness of what has been done, and they inherit and they perpetuate and keep it going. And then when we talk about it, it's like nobody wants to admit it. Everybody wants us to take responsibility, but nobody else wants to take responsibility on the other side. And so what you do is you get a person like this who's running, and what he's going to do is he's going to make it seem like that what we're saying, because again, here's Joy Behar. She's going to say, now I'm not here to say that when a white person is critiquing a black person that is copacetic and is right. But the point that she's making, some of us may agree with that. Some of us may look and say, well, when she talk about him and Clarence Thomas, a lot of us see that in them. And we say that the position that they take is opposition to the position that we hold. And maybe it sounds funny when a white person says that. And so he sit on the show and then he's flipping and say, now how is that a white woman is trying to tell me I'm a black person? And then you heard the individual who he's speaking with says, well, I know your life. I read your books. I heard the story. Does that really, okay, if I write a book about my life, I'm things that even by me telling you, you can't incorporate to like get the real, spirit of it. You might try to understand it, but to be in it is entirely different. It's like window shopping. You can see the mannequin and you imagine in yourself with the high looking and look good on you until you put it on yourself. Then you may say, it don't look as good to me as I thought it was going to look when I get it, right? But some people think they can actually do that. And then they take the position and tell us that we're wrong. And it's like, that's what the whole point of this show today is going to be about. These people keep getting on the opposite side, yet they utilize the position, and then they come back now to destroy it so the rest of us can't use it. You watch what I'm showing you, right? Now, again, I'm not here with Joy Behar to say that she's right or not. I'm just saying we all understand the point that she's making, and he said that's not, and then to disavow what she's saying, well, guess what? She's a white woman. As a matter of fact, it's ridiculous that a white woman like her who's playing blackface trying to tell a black person who is black, okay, all right, fine. Then he says something like this. He said, we're not a victim nation. Now listen to this.
Who rightly, I thought, chastised the audience when they started to boo. And she said, no, we're going to let Senator Scott speak because they did attack you when you weren't there. And I think you had every right to do that. Look, I used to do that show. It's not worthwhile to do that show for me. But what I liked about today's edition is they were listening to you, whether they wanted to or not. Your message came through loud and clear. And I think it's a message that, frankly, Senator, transcends even race in as much as, this should be the country with the ladder to success. And we're not a nation of victims, and we're a nation of people that can do great things regardless of how difficult our circumstances were when we grew up or how hard our lives have been.
Well, Sean, one of the things
we face.
Absolutely, Sean. One of the things that you and I have in common is a very blue-collar, everyday American background. You and I both had to figure out how to succeed in life, but the conditions of America make it possible for the working-class person to come to the heights of being in TV. You can look at me and say, a kid growing up in a single-parent household, mired in poverty, can he one day be a congressman or a senator or a business owner? The answer is yes, yes, yes. Why? because America continues to evolve in the right direction. We continue to call upon our better angels. We are a more perfect union today than we were yesterday or last year or last decade. We have to believe in the future of this country and then lean into that future and make it what it should be. Spend more time in the windshield and less time in the rearview mirror.
Okay. Again, that's what the politics do. They're going to swoon you with words. Some of the people get swooned up in them words. But again, black people are not anti-American. They're not anti-American. But it's funny how the elephant in the room that nobody want to address. And they also put time length and say, you know what? Well, that happened so long ago. But then here comes a savior, one that supposedly come from amongst us. And he's saying the things that going in accordance with you. And he's saying the things that you like him saying. And it makes like all these other murmurs and rumors and history to be, we're wrong and we're playing the race card. That's what's dangerous about individuals like himself. When they get in those positions, and then we're not saying that we can't be optimistic. And then he says about looking in the windshield and not looking in your rearview mirror. Well, any of y'all drive? And if you drive and never look in your rearview mirror, I'm pretty sure you don't crash your car. You don't have several cars, because ain't no way you can drive your car driving only looking forward. You might as well, if that be the case, you might as well take off the side mirrors on both sides and the rearview mirror and just drive and see how long your car gonna last. So there's no way you can drive forward without looking back. So in that analogy that he's trying to use, what he's trying to say is we spend too much time looking in the past. Well, let me give you a scenario. We know that that young man that got shot up 90 times, right? Jalen Walker. Now, those who see my show, what I did for Jalen Walker, and remember, I broke it down, showed you frame for frame. You see him running, right? Remember, my analogy was like when watching football. Somebody run a 24 dive, 22 dive, and he get up in that hole and he come up out that hole, and then he gets 5-10 yards ahead of them and everybody trailing them, right? We done seen, many of us who watch sports have seen that. You done seen that. And what happens when a player gets 5 yards, 6 yards ahead, and he's running after 10, 15, 20, 30 yards? He's going to do a check, right? He's going to look back to see who's up on him. So now, the way the scenario went down with Jalen Walker was this. So y'all want us to believe if Jalen Walker could just keep running forever, that night when them police officers was chasing him down, now we couldn't find, he didn't have no gun. But if Jalen Walker would have just kept running straight and never checked to see where they was, remember when he checked, that's when he gunned them up and said he turned with the gun. So Tim Scott's analogy is don't look back. See, if he don't look back, he wouldn't have got shot up. See, if we don't look back, then we'll never understand about what happened to us. We just need to look forward. Who operates like that? Why do you want us to operate like that? What is it in the rearview mirror? If I look, I'm going to see. Oh, like the cops with Jalen Walker, I'm going to see death, right? So don't look back. It's like Lot's wife. Don't look back or you're going to turn into a pillar of salt, right? So why can't I address about what I look back? Is looking back justifying the 90 shots? Is looking back making it, again, people feeling uncomfortable about what their ancestors left them as the inheritable insurance policy? Is that our problem, that you come from people who do atrocious and heinous things and they left that for you, and we supposed to eat that and never to look back at it to make you feel comfortable? That's the best way to do it. That's the racial etiquette way to do, right? to make it seem to not anything that doesn't happen, and then somehow psychologically put it back on myself that everything that done went wrong is because I did it to myself, as if you have no part in that. So what you do is you try to find these people to bring them so that you can say your talking points to negate the fact of what centuries have been done. And that's supposed to be all right. We're supposed to accept that. Right? That's the best thing. That's the American way. So then you're doing all kind of other things now. You're bringing all kind of other peoples here, right? You bring all kind of other people here, and slowly but surely, you benign neglect. You're not saying anything, but you're doing it. And if we say anything about looking in the rearview mirror about what the history has shown us, we can't see what y'all doing. We're not supposed to say what we see y'all doing, right? We're supposed to act like we don't see that at all. So you're going to get him, and he's going to make it all good. See, pull yourself by the bootstrap. Get a good education. I did it. You can do it. Okay. So let's see how true that is that he says that. Let me show you how true that is. Okay. You know he's a senator of South Carolina, right? But how did he get that spot? How did he get in there? Do y'all know how he got in there? He got appointed in there. Let me show. Hold on. Y'all may not even know that, huh? He got appointed in there by Nikki Haley. Did y'all know that? This the one telling you about going to school, doing everything right, and everything but manifesting work for you, and how he got into that seat. Originally, he got appointed because what happened? Another person from senator, a governor, senator. I mean, he retired, and so they had an open slot. So the governor has the option to have a special election or appoint somebody for the duration till we get the special election. And he was appointed. Now, when you go look at who it was that they had to put in there, there was two other white women and two other white men, and then there was him. Let me say that again. There was two white women and there was two white men, and then there was him. And somebody said, let's put him in there. You know why? Just like Sonny said to him in The View, you know, you the first since in the South, a black person since Reconstruction. 146 years ago. So I've been running senator. I'll be going on for so long, saying how many senators to 146, right? Well, how many years you get? 4, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is. So it won't be 146 straight, but 146 years total, right? So the thing is, it's been running dominant that way. And so they went and put you in there because you was being appointed. Then you went and ran. And when you ran, if you go look and see who he ran against, he then ran against the invisible man. That person who he ran against, you understand? It was like he only had about 30,000 votes, and they won't even show you who he is, he got a name and so forth. So it could have been, for all we know, we don't know who they were. But that's how they got him in there, right? That's how he got in there, right? So let me show you some of the words in there. Remember this Nikki Haley, she questionable too, because she said something on the show, a couple of shows I did, when I showed you. Now let me show you something. Let me show you some of these words. Hold on. Okay? Now look at this. You got Governor Haley said, what we look for in a new senator is a fighter. Okay, now these are her words, right? Now listen what they're saying here. Okay. For a new senator is a fighter, someone with courage and leadership for our state and nation at the time when we need it most. And someone who understands South Carolina's issue and knows her people. That's what we found in Tim Scott. It's a great honor for me to appoint Tim as our next U.S. Senator. See? That's how he got in. I'm not saying that the job that he got prior before that his education didn't help him to get, but we're talking about how he said that he's going to get into the position now that he's going to run for president, which again, snowball chance in hell that he gonna win. But he's also being used again. What's today's show about? The strings, right? The strings. Go ahead and show that up there for me, sir. Show that for you. You slow today. I know. We start late tonight, right? We start too late, right? Okay. Right. The strings of powers that be, right? So the strings that power be. This game is chess. They already making them moves long before who you sitting seeing. They already made them moves. They already know who they picking. They already know who they bringing in. Okay. So again, the former governor confirmed. I actually don't think we need to just okay. Oh, hold on, no. You off, buddy. No, wrong one. That one. That's the one. There you go. All right. Say, I am deeply honored. Now this is him. I'm deeply honored to accept the governor Nikki Haley's appointment as United States Senator. The U.S. Rep Scott. As much as there is honor in such an occasion, I am even more humbled in the confidence she has shown in me, and that the task that is now before me, representing the entire state of South Carolina and all of its citizens, is on my screen is smaller than what y'all seeing, is a sacred duty. It looks like sacred duty. I look to the Lord's grace to give me the strength and wisdom to fulfill the duty in a way that reflects well of our state and our country, right? Okay, that's fine, right? I got a message here. Okay, I'm gonna put Aboriginal knowledge thrown up there, right? Most of them are. You get what I'm saying? Most of them are, right? Most of them are. Like I said, do y'all know the story of Nebuchadnezzar in the Bible? And I'm not here about talking about teaching no Bible. I'm just saying, do anybody know the story of Nebuchadnezzar? Nebuchadnezzar took the Israelites, the choicest ones of the Israelites, and changed their names and made them be a part of his empire to keep his empire running. So think about how this runs. Getting all the best people from around the world, bring them into yours. Remember, Nebuchadnezzar gave them the delicacies of the kings. He gave them access, right? Put them in their schools, right? And he utilizes their God-given gift to keep his shit running. And so that's when you hear these people who keep talking about education, and how it takes you to inspire you, but it's only you become a cog spring sprocket in the mechanism of operation of whoever empire this is. Now, people say citizens and all that stuff, but we ain't talking about that business. We talking about the business of who, again, those who pull the string behind the curtain. That business, right? Those the powers that be. So, all right, with that being said, so he accepted the appointment. Now, the same person that picked him, remember just about a couple of weeks ago, she came out and she talked about this, right? Remember, she came out and talked about Nikki Haley called for pardon for Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely's chokehold death. Remember her? She was the one that came out and said that he's a hero, right? But that's the same one that picked him, right? That's the word it said, right? Let me show the word, right? The former governor confirmed, I actually don't think we need to just get behind Penny. I think we need to tell the governor she needs to pardon him. We need to pardon him because what he was doing was trying to protect other Americans. Is that what he was doing? Is that what we saw? Is that what our eyes see? Well, that was the story that they told us. Oh, I'm pretty sure people gonna leave. I don't lie, y'all. You're not gonna like that because again, you want us to be again racial etiquettes. You don't want to hear that. So it goes on. She says he saw danger. She said he was trying to protect himself and the other people on the subway. An idea that Bragg would go in and indict him this way without an investigation, without any sort of grand jury, really what I think needs to happen. We don't know the grand jury, but we understand how that grand jury works when it comes when we are the victim of that. We see them. Normally we see grand jury when they deal with what? Police. So we try to figure out how does, in that situation, now him being an ex-military, why are you requesting that treatment? You get what I'm saying? But this is who he's with, right? Now look at what it said, right? Then she talked about how she urged Hochul, a Democrat, to pardon Penny. No question about it, she says. She needs to pardon him right away. It's the right thing to do. She argued that it's Penny's blood to defend and protect as someone who served in the military. The key word is blood and defend and protect. Is that some code word? Is that coded? Is there some code in that? Blood, defend, and protect. As if like Jordan Neely ain't, again, remember code word is American. They say they're American, but I showed you what Americans said, copper color people, but then they said, but we took that. It now applies to us. Remember that? In Webster Dictionary said who the original copper color people were, and then they said at the bottom of it, said, but we took that. Now it means us. Right? So what's she saying here? Right? But anyway, but this who they doing, right? Then it was Scott. Oh no, don't go there. No, wrong one. No, that's it. Now let me show you how this is their boy. Let me show you how this is their boy. Listen to this.
One of his many incredibly thoughtful, reasoned, prepared comments throughout his time there on The View.
It was phenomenal what Senator Scott did. He came locked and loaded with facts. He came across good-natured, charming, but strong. He went on to say, just after that clip, not only have we had a black president, currently black vice president, he said, I have a black police chief in my community, black head of highway patrol. There are black men and women who are anchors at ABC, CBS, NBC, ESPN, Fox News. And then he goes on to say we have black unemployment under 5% for the first time under a Republican president, 95% high school graduation rate. And he said yesterday's exception is today's rule. Sonny Hostin looked at him speechless. Nothing to say, because those are facts. Those are undeniable what he said. And then they were only left to, in the next block, for some reason, Whoopi and Sonny hugged and like cuddled. It was very bizarre. I mean, look at that. Very odd. And then they shouted, one of them, systemic racism. So he did so well because he showed up with facts. He's so positive, so optimistic. But the women of The View, they continued to lie about Ron DeSantis. Anna Navarro said that he doesn't want to teach black history, which another host on that show has had to apologize before because it's an outright lie. So they may have a defamation issue on their hands there. And not only that, another host said Ron DeSantis isn't conservative. I don't know what they drink over at The View, but it's something imaginary.
And let's just watch a clip of that guy, of one of the moments.
Again, he's thoughtful, reasoned, prepared, phenomenal, good nature. He was locked and loaded, charming, but strong. He talked about how we had the first black president and vice president. Wait a minute. Anytime when you keep saying you got one, does one make something to be even? So if you got 99 and I got one, right? Do that to a kid. Just take a taste test or a test. Give one kid 99 cents and give one 1. And look at the face of the one that got the 1. And they'd be looking at you like, well, how do you get 1 and that one got 99? Like, just do like pennies. Kid, 99 pennies and get that 1. He probably throw it at you. You know what I'm saying? Might throw it at you like, what's this? Right? So, but that's how they act. The one's supposed to be significant, is supposed to be equivalent to the 99. So you've been running for 99 straight and give me 1, and then see, there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing to see. And people, I mean, they function like that. Y'all function like that, right? And then to the fact that this individual here that you sitting here that's showing this is y'all boy, he went out there and he said this. Y'all remember when he said this? You remember when he said America is not a racist? He public country, right? But America is right is not racist. Now again, America is not racist. But they say America, the country isn't racist. And people take offense to when you say America is racist. It's not the country, it's a particular people who hold true, self-evident that everybody ain't equal. Ain't that basically what it is? So did y'all see him do his announcement of the speech? Did y'all see it? Let me show you how funny it is that either it was by spirit or they pulled the plug. I want y'all to see this. Now watch this. This is what he did when he made his announcement this week when he went for president. Watch this. This is going to be funny shit.
America is not a nation.
Go back again. Get that to again.
America is not a nation. All right. America is not.
Wait a minute. You might have thought that was me doing that. That wasn't me. But I want y'all to see that again. Was that the microphone went off, or did they cut his ass off air because they didn't want him saying this? Did they not want him to say that? They was like, oh, hell no, don't you say that again. And they cut him. You don't believe me? Watch. That ain't me doing that, y'all. That was actually live when he did it. Watch again.
America is not a nation.
Running fast. Slow down. We're going to do it again. Hold on. I got a message in here. Hold on. Aboriginal knowledge says, anytime I see white defend a black man, something is wrong. They only defend blacks who share white ideology. 100% correct. That's what I'm saying. They were showing that's their boy, right? He's saying he's thoughtful, reasoned, prepared. He's phenomenal. He's good-natured. He's charming but strong. And we like, who they talking about? Who they talking about? Right? So that's what they were saying, right? But again, he thinking by saying that is a good thing. See, that's how far gone he is. He thought that this is the right thing to say. And that network was like, pull the plug, pull the fucking plug. Watch.
America is not a nation.
America.
Now, what you saw there, right? That was network cut him off. They did not want him saying that again because they know how detriment that is. And again, if he's supposed to be thinking he gonna get some black votes, you saying that when everybody know the real truth of it is, it's not saying that each and every person in this country is racist, but we know the history. And my thing is this: if you ain't never fixed nothing, how does it ever go away? If you never fix something, how does it ever go away? Don't talk about it. Don't look at it. Don't act like it don't exist. But what about the people who have been doing that? And then these people are so damn, I don't know what it is, but they selectiveness about it. They actually said, nobody's here today living in slavery, as if they don't have descendants in the perpetualness of depriving every generation from that up to now, what you've been depriving them of is not affecting today. That's the craziest part about it. And as funny as these people say they believe in God, and they think that they somehow gonna fool God about the shit they trying to make us think he ain't doing. That is the most craziest shit, but they don't like nobody saying this shit. That's what's really crazy about it. But really, when you think about it, Aboriginal knowledge, he just this.
We ain't got no fences here at Camp 8. We don't need no fences. We got us the gun line.
Tell them about the gun line, boss.
This is the gun line. It runs from shack to shack, clear around the yard. You are now inside the gun line. You step outside the gun line without my permission, you will be shot. You trip and fall over the gun line, you will be shot. You spit, you pee, you so much as stick your Johnson out over the gun line, you will be shot. And you, Slick, don't try to run, don't try to escape. One of my trustees will put a bullet in your head. You prisoners are now the property of the state of Mississippi, which is to say I own your ass. And in case you haven't met this handsome young fella, this is Hoppin' Bob. You run afoul of Bob, you run afoul of me.
Right? Oh, we is back, right? Yeah, Hoppin' Bob. Anybody seen Life? You seen the movie Life? That's what that is, Hoppin' Bob. That's what happens. Some of us get them positions and become their boy, and you speak all against your own and against your own self, so you can be Hoppin' Bob. You got the gun, talking about anybody coming, I'll shoot him for it. Remember what racial etiquette, boss? Captain Boss, huh? Right? See, people want to deny the fact of what perpetual they inherit or came into by, again, it's funny how people say, well, they weren't here and they people ain't part of it. And no one and then yet they claim they know the history, what happened to you. They'll tell you something like, well, everybody had slavery. It was slavery everywhere. Now, we talking about here. We're not talking about outside of here. It's funny, everybody who's migrated, immigrated from somewhere else want to tell us about history other places, but the history here, we the history here. We the people or the descendants of the people here, and you want to tell me about the world when you ain't dealing with the people of the history of this place. Don't tell me about, oh, they were doing slavery here, and they were doing it here. You guys are not nothing unique. Yes, we are. We in the same place. Your people ran. You ran. You didn't endure. You can't endure. And you want to sit here and everybody want to try to tell us, right? You want to tell us about how we should be and what we should get over when you can't endure. Whatever your people was going through, why they didn't stick it out? Why they didn't sit there and go through the thorns and stripes? But don't come somewhere that's why you don't get the right to come to talk to somebody in some place else, whether you call yourself you became a citizen or not. You don't get to tell the people of the history of that country who have done them wrong to tell them what they can't say. Isn't that just right? Or is it just something about the reason why the nations y'all ran from is the way they are? Right? So you have the people behind the scenes, the Randolph Mortimers, right? The ones who really conducting and doing all this behind the scenes. Then they got those of us who are going to play the role of Eddie and Dan Aykroyd, right? Trading places. We see it all happening. We see it. And again, I am not anti-immigrant, but I am going to call it as I see it. Y'all see it. You just don't, well, the people, put it this way, the same way like when you look at Tim Scott, the people who are articulate, educated, and got those, they're not going to say what I'm going to say. Because you're doing good. I think what it said, how they say that? I forgot how they put that. It was something they said. It was something like, if I'm doing well, I think how I go, if I'm doing well, I'm trying to think, how did that go? Something about if I'm doing well. If I'm doing well because I'm doing better. That's how I think I'm doing well because I'm doing better. Somehow, like when that conversation with Tim Scott and Sean Hannity, and when he was saying, yeah, when we were little and then we were struggling, and then, yeah, right. No. So y'all trying to say that the same existence, again, those of us who've seen the show when I told you broke down about Constitution, who the Constitution really for? Who gets the special immunities and privileges based on codification of skin? So some people don't realize that just their skin in itself gave them privilege, while others, it was a hindrance. So you need education. You need all those things, and still, it may not work for you. Now, the other person, he has a open sesame. He has a combination, right? He has the numbers to the safe, right? And he says he is equal to me. Doesn't mean that in the scale of that game they playing that he may not be at the bottom, but there's some privileges and immunities that he's automatically going to acquire. And they want to deny that. I mean, people take what they read and they want to make it apply to themselves as it was written in the time pertaining to you. But ask yourself honestly, where were you and your people when this was being done? And when you be honest with that, you'll realize those things were never written for you. Nothing was. And so you're being traded places with people coming from all around the world to undermine us, yet been using the things that you would think that apply and goes to people like Black Americans. But on the low, the shush quiet, the conversations in their homes, the secret talk with them is they know what they do. Well, what are you talking about, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Let me show you something here. Huh? You see this here? Supreme Court is about the way Harvard admission case, 2 Asian Americans speak out and alleged bias, right? Say that one more again. Put this on here. Y'all gonna run up out of here. So y'all don't want this. You don't want this. Y'all don't want this. You want us to act like everything, y'all. We don't see what everybody doing. Y'all want us to act like we don't see what everybody doing. Now listen to this, man. I want y'all to see this here, right? Right? I want y'all to see this. Because you're not going to find too many people in the corner they're not going to do this. They're not going to do it, right? There's no economic benefits for doing this. That's how they look. There's no economical benefits for doing that. I got somebody, what y'all doing to I got some technical difficulties happening over here, right? All it is. They don't want, you know how it goes, right? So let me show you what they're talking about in the Supreme Court case here that you may not know about, right? Okay. So what you have here is this cat here. Let me show you. Now again, what I'm going to ask is about this is this. I want you to see this. All right, see the individual on your screen there, right? Let me tell you about. He's the one that they're talking about when it comes to Supreme. He's one of them. He's not the only one, but he's one of them, right? And I want you, and then what I want y'all to see is that, as I said, you have people who come from all around the world, running from whatever they're running from, and then they come here, and then they have somehow been acclimated to stuff they were not entitled to, and that's been the problem. Let me say that one more again. I know a lot of people gonna be mad. I know they're gonna start taking my numbers down. If y'all ain't noticing that my numbers going backwards, because look at the last few shows I've been doing. They you know what I'm saying? They are gonna make it go backwards, but it is all right. Okay? Because a lot of people, the real problem in this country started with when you never dealt with dealing with the original sin. Instead of dealing with the original sin, you're like kids that don't want to clean their damn room. They try to hide shit up under the bed, putting plates under the mattress, right? Hiding cups outside the window, right? Doing all kinds of shit so I don't have to deal with that aspect of it, right? So I'm going to show what I'm talking about, right? So you had this individual that you see on your screen here. And as a show about a Supreme Court weighs in on Harvard admission case, he's saying that in this country, we're living on a very surface level culture. And what do you mean by that? He's talking about skin color. He's saying that this country is all focused on skin color. Now, he's a young man, parents of immigrants coming here, and from his perspective in his time of life in this country, that's what he sees. But my question is, people who fall under the same category like him, your ancestry, your parentage come from somewhere else, and you grow up in this country being, what they may say, a citizen, and you start to utilize institutions and things, okay, fine, they'll support it to you. But do you get to disrupt or try to take away something that was never for you in the first damn place? And that's what I'm saying, that the original problem in this country is, see, you let a people who you claim by emancipation, then they go through Reconstruction, then they go through Jim Crow, then they go through civil rights, and then as soon as you give them civil rights, you bring and flood everybody from around the world, and they start bringing people from northern, central, and southern Europe, and then you start bringing people from Mexico. You start bringing, okay? At the same time, when you give Black Americans, same time. So when did they ever get any benefit? This is what y'all won't be honest about. You never allow Black people to benefit, but everybody want to say that you've been here, you should have did this, and yet when we talk about the history, this is why you don't want to talk about it, because you're going to see the intent with the things that you say that don't exist, and saying the racism don't exist or the disenfranchisement exist. You don't want to admit that. And so you got to ask yourself, if you gave something to a people that's supposed to have benefit from it, and then you open the gate and let everybody come in, and then you use them people to keep them down, the problem is you was never supposed to have got nothing. That didn't pertain to you, but you can't give nothing solely to them people because it would be unconstitutional. So what you have to do is you have to make the game blanket where everybody get, and then in that, you still deprive them. So here's this young man is talking about the Harvard admission officers, right? He said when they're applying for school, he said the Harvard admission officers, all they care about is if you're a woman, whether you're a man, or if you're gay, whether you can write a cool story about college administration that they said that the consultant probably wrote for you. And then he gets specific. Then he starts saying, well, you got kids that write things about Black Lives Matter and 100 times for a college essay, and they got accepted to Stanford. Do you not know that, let's say, for instance, if somebody had to go to college as a Black kid coming out of the environments, let's say, coming out of certain environments, compared to you who have ancestry from another place, and you may go to that other country and got culture and traditions in your household that is different from that come from here. His experience is different. His life and lineage of what he's been through historically is going to be different. So why did you have to make that, Black Lives Matter? Is that something, you got something in your crawl about that? You got something stuck in your craw about that, right? And see, that's the thing. People come from other places and y'all try to act as if y'all didn't have biases against people of color where you come from. You come here and act as if like, no, we weren't like that. That's only when we got here. A lot of y'all come from places, a lot of y'all had them same sentiments against the darker elements of what places that y'all come from. And then there's places that don't have no other but themselves. They said the continent got all Black people there. And they discriminate against them own stuff on their own Blackness. So here's we, the people who this storyteller you brought us on boats here, and we had to be under the dynamic of what it was just Black and white. And then imagine you start bringing red, brown, yellow, all these other so-called colors, and melt them in, and then say, go. Now, wait a minute. This group already been in the damn hole about 246 years, and the other ones escaped the hole they got over, came here, and then they got to step. They started on the ground level, and you still in the hole for 246 years. And then you had the sick ones amongst us that education is the one that's going to get you to be equal. So, and then here's this young man here who's suing Harvard, says they don't care about traits. They actually care. Or he said they say they don't care about traits that actually produce value. See, he says as a young man, as an Asian American man, he said, well, they went about gender, they went about sex, sexual preference, they went about your race. He said, well, what about the things that have to do with your traits that produce value? It's a valid point he's making, right? So he took it upon himself. He said, this is going to be his crusade to get people to care about real merit and real values. As if the people who, when you said about the Black Lives Matter, that we don't have real merit or real values. And that the game that you want to play, that you're trying to say that is actually, you say alleged bias against you, really isn't biased against y'all. It's really not. But you're using that as an excuse. And then the thing is, who's the person behind the scene that's using you to get to that level? We will touch that. We're going to touch that, right? So I want y'all to get the gist of this story here. And so he's going to make this group. And he said his group's motto is to advocate for a race-blind, meritocratic America. See, race-blind, meritocratic America. So you don't want nobody using race, and you want it all about your ability. You ever seen the movie? What was that movie? What was that movie where she was like, she had, Paul, I love you, Paul. Yeah, that movie where she hobbled his ass. What was the name of that movie? Ah, shit. I got them in. But remember, he was in the bed. He was an author. Remember his truck crashed and she went out there. She was a nurse. Her name was Annie or some shit like that. And brought him in the house and kept sedating his ass. And then she started realizing his ass was trying to get away. And then she took the sticks, put them between legs, and broke both his damn ankles and shit. You remember that movie? I can't remember the damn movie off the top. Somebody, send it to me. Right? So she hobbled him to keep his ass so he couldn't move. So wait a minute. Do you not understand that's what happened with Black Americans? You keep getting hobbled. Every time you try to make some move or trying to escape, and they noticing you trying to get away, and he gonna come in, oh, Paul, I love you, Paul. Right? Say he love you, and then put the damn stick between your legs, and then take the sledgehammer and break one ankle and break the other ankle, right? Misery. Is it misery? I think that was it. Misery. That's it. Misery. Right? So misery. Right? So here's a young man, an Asian cat, based on his 20 years of life, born somewhere like 2000, and him going to school and he dealing with how over the years and centuries, how this mess has become. From his perspective, he believed that we waste too much time on stuff. Now, what he doesn't understand is everything before you still is prevalent to today. So when you come in, and the thing is, he's trying to galvanize other people just like himself to say, hey, you know that thing, that affirmative action, we need to get rid of that. So he said he made an organization. And that model is to advocate for race-blind and meritocratic America. Ain't nothing wrong with marriage. But there is something wrong when somebody is cheating and making the other game harder for somebody else and then want to claim merit when you're rigging the damn game. I'm giving you old material. I'm giving you teachers that's not qualified to teach where you at, but they're sufficient enough to teach you. I'm putting you in an environment that's conducive because of poverty and economic. I'm rigging the game. I'm rigging the damn game. But I'm telling you, and so they say, well, what's wrong with Black people? Why can't you do the same as what we're doing? You don't come from the same thing I come from. You like to think and tell yourself because you hang with a couple, you watch some movies, but can you walk in the shoes? Paul Mooney had it great when he used to say, everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga. You like the nigga stuff, but you don't like the nigga life. Because y'all know what y'all do. Y'all know in the corners, in the coffee shops, and the things that y'all do, right? So this young man, he don't understand that. So he's saying that using, like he said, medical schools to show people exactly, they call it DEI, which I think that it was that diversity, equity, inclusion. I think DEI, I think is diversity. Yeah, I think that's what it is, right? Diversity, equity, or equality, inclusion. He said it's so harmful. Now, again, they try to make it seem about political, talk about people on the left, the people on the right, and the center all agree. Now, when he says people on the left, the right, and the center all agree, who is he talking about codedly? Is he talking about you and I, Black folks, or he talking about the left white folks, the right white folks, and the center white folks all agree we should get rid of this DEI? You know why you want to get rid of the DEI? Because a lot of y'all checking that box white on the damn census. Let me say that one more again for those with the paper over the window class. You know why they all now want to say we can get rid of affirmative action? We can get rid of DEI now because all of them now are checking the box white on the census. So that only leaves only Black folks on there, right? Okay, anyway. So he said, they said they don't care what race. They just want a doctor that's best qualified, right? Now check this out. That sounds good, right? That sounds good. That sounds good when you say that we don't care about race. We want a doctor that's best qualified. Guess what? because of our history and because that we have allowed everybody, we had other people teaching us, we had other people being legislative for us, and we had other people being mayors and governors, right? And then they say, well, now look, you got a black police chief. You done had a black president. You have a black vice president. One doesn't mean nothing, and a lot of them is not cut from the same cloth, right? So my thing is this. We would also like to have doctors that have come from us too. Why is that, you say? It's funny how black women can go have a damn baby and all of a sudden now they dying. But you saying the best qualified doctors. So are the doctors that black women are going in and having a baby with, are these bad doctors? Or is it just something internally going on wrong with black women? Or is there something in the history of AMA and, you know, and whatever agenda that might be going on that ain't nobody gonna really come out and say, could that have something to do with it? So I agree with you, young man, that people want the best qualified doctor, but sometimes you got to have people of your skin, of your kin, be the people that you confide in, you hoping that they have the best interest for you, right? So when I have people that other people who just because you got on a white coat and a stethoscope don't mean that that's my best interest because I don't know. Shit, Dr. Kevorkian, anybody? What was that motherfucker up in what was that motherfucker up in Europe that doctor was killing up? He the most killingest mug of all time. He was a doctor too, or a nurse, one of the two, right? That's what happens, right? So again, I'm not saying that people, blackness can't do it too, but what I'm saying is you would prefer to have somebody of your own people. Now, he wants to say that he's being prohibited to be a doctor because they got quotas on him, right? They say medical schools like Perelman, right, which is up in Pennsylvania, they said, now this is what he says, they admit any black college applicant who scores a 3.6 grade point average and completes 2 summers of internships of an undergraduate institution, right? That's what he says. Now, he makes that criteria to be very low. But if you do your research and understand what an MCAT is, right? Right? That's that medical college admission test. And in order for you to even be qualified for medical school, you have to have a 3.4 or 3.6 grade point average or higher. So if you're saying that they give them a 3.6 grade point average and they just do 2 summers of internship, they automatically are going to get in. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. But they qualify. It isn't like they letting a 2.0 student, a 2.5 or 2.9. They still got the 3.6. But what he may not understand is that anybody remember good times when Michael couldn't pass that test? And when they say, wait a minute, Michael too damn smart to not be passing them tests. And then they come to find out that them tests be culturally biased. Let me say that one more again. That these tests that they be taking be culturally biased. So that means somebody poor from the hood probably gonna have a hard time getting a good score on these tests because there's certain things in his culture, of his environment, and the schooling that he's coming out of, where some of you got the economics to pay to get the people, and y'all done figure out a way how to funnel everybody to know this particular people in particular, right? They do that, right? So, okay, with that being said, all right. Now, MCAT, right? He's saying they don't have to take the MCAT. They don't take the medical college admission test. But I heard that they had to take the AAMC, which is the Association of American Medical College, what they call the URUM. And that URUM is for the unrepresented minority. So what it is him being an Asian and they will be minorities, all of a sudden now, you want to flood in all your people because you saying other people are hindering y'all from taking over. That we're getting limited to be getting our representation in schools we want to be in because they're finding ways to get you guys in. You need to get out the way so we can take over. Isn't that really what he's saying? I got a message here. Hold on. I got a message. Misery. Put your L where. What's good, bruh? Yeah, that was misery. Yeah, that was misery, right? Paul, I love you. He hobbled him. Kept hobbling. Every time Paul tried to get away, break Paul's shit, right? But anyway, good to see you though, bro. And again, I gave you praise out for that. So yeah, let's look at this. Let me show y'all this, man. Let me show y'all this. Because I think this is something we gotta look, because you gotta remember, affirmative action isn't just education, it's also dealing with the workforce. And when you start letting them start fidgeting and twiddling, you know the old saying, catch cold, catch pneumonia. You know how they gonna go, right? Right? So he's talking about also the fact they said, if you're white or Asian, you have to be in the top 1% of an MCAT to even get considered. Well, let's look at white people's number in whole as what they claim they are, the percentage of people, right? And then if you say Asians, well, shit, if all of y'all are academically high and taking SATs and all that shit, so that means that all of you walk in there, and then the hell with everybody else who, again, struggle through, economics and environments and other contributing factors that may hinder them from being, let's say, may need some handicap. But that doesn't mean they, again, let's say, like back in the days when I was coming up, you had entry level. And you could get the job if you can maintain the damn job for 90 days and hold on to it and get that 90 days. And then you can get 6 months and get a year, you don't get a main job, held the job, right? So let's say, for instance, even if you say you gave somebody handicap points to get in medical school, don't they still got to pass the test? Don't they still, what I'm saying? They still got to meet all the criteria to get the diploma. So why are you really going gun-ho and trying to destroy something only for you? So I think something that smells to me about this individual is that you with them peoples. You gotta be with them peoples. You gotta be with them peoples, right? But let me show y'all something. Let me show on the screen here, right? Let me show you something, right? There's words here, right? So I'll let you read that on the screen, right? You see what he's saying there, right? These are the things that he was saying, right? He's talking about hold on, I got some technical difficulties going over here. All right, there we go. Right now, we're living in a very surface level culture where it's all about skin color. You go to a Harvard admission officer, all they care about is, are you a woman? Are you a man? Are you gay? Or do you have a cool story that some college admission consultant wrote for you? Or are you like that kid who wrote Black Lives Matter 100 times for a college essay and got accepted by Stanford? You said, right? That's what you said, right? That's you, X-U, right? That's you, right? And then he goes on, he says, most likely, they don't care about the traits that actually produce value. That's my crusade, to get people to care about real merit, real value, regardless of the surface characteristics like skin color, right? See, that's the thing. His crusade, and crusade ain't no good thing. And the thing is a characteristic like skin color. Now, again, all that pertains to dealing with us. The skin game starts with us. Your people came from wherever they came from, coming to this game here, and then here you come as an offspring, talking about what you want to take away from something that has something historically do with some people that ain't got nothing to do with you. So you really are being disrespectful to our history, and you really here, and that's why I do these stories, because some people don't talk about this. We need to be focusing because there is some kind of immigrant connection going on here. Let me say that one more again. Remember the Chinese connection with Bruce Lee? We got the immigrant connection going on here. There's some people coming in here vibing and elbow rooming, trying to get themselves in a better position at our expense. And we better pay attention if it ain't too damn late, right? If it ain't too late. So let me show you. I want you to think I'm making none of this shit up, right? But you see it. It says our motto is to advocate for a race-blind, meritocratic America. You said. Right now, we're using the example of medical school to show people exactly why DEI ideology is so harmful, because it's something most people of the left, right, center can all agree. They don't care what the race of their doctor is. They just want the best qualified doctor, right? That's what he's saying, right? Okay. Like I said, we can all agree to that. Now let me show the other words he said. Let me show. So can't say I'm making this up. I might think I'm making all this up, right? So he says, right? Right now, we have medical schools like Perryman at the University of Pennsylvania saying they're going to admit any black college applicant who scores a 3.6 grade point average and completes 2 summers of internship at our undergrad institution, he said. We're going to admit anybody, and they don't even have to take the MCAT to get in. Again, the MCAT is what? The medical college admission test, right? This is how they looking at you. Right? Oh, you're getting some benefit just because you're black, right? You're getting it because you're black. Whereas if you're a white or Asian, in cahoots, because the original game is against who? Reason why we need to get the handicap points because it's making you the motherfucker you in partnership with. He the one that been making us have to have a handicap point, and then you came over here as an anchor. Now you coming in trying to get in cahoots to take away something that was historically belonged to us. Again, as I said, a lot of the stuff that a lot of y'all been benefiting, y'all wasn't supposed to be getting from the jump. But ain't nobody gonna never say that, right? Because it make you sound like you a hater. No, it's just the truth, right? So you have to be at the top 1% of the MCAT taker to even be considered. That is the definition of unfairness. And that is the definition of pulling the stereotypes of black applicants before he even gets a chance to go out into the real world. Is the definition of putting the stereotype on black applicants. What stereotype? There's no stereotype. This is them trying to make some amend about what they done. But we've never been the beneficiaries of any of the things that some people will say that our people fought for, whether it's some of the things that, again, was a trick bag to make it look like somebody was giving us something, but they really wasn't giving us nothing. And then here you is suing, and you got our name in your mouth. But your fight ain't really with us. And that's the funny part about this. His fight ain't really with us. But since he can't beat them, he gonna come at us. You understand? His fight ain't with us. It was because they said no. They said you can't do it. So he like, fuck it, let's destroy all of it then. But then who wins that? It going to revert back to where it originally was. But he 3.6 better. He know better, right? So it says the doctor that treats you should be the most qualified doctor available to you, not the doctor that has received the most amount of social justice training, he wrote at the time. Yet, that's exactly what the University of North Carolina Medical School is doing, replacing vital medical training courses with social courses and diminishing the quality of its doctors in the service of a false social justice agenda. Really? Really? Ain't that something? False social justice. This is an Asian person. What are you talking about? What, you 20 years old, 22 years old? What you know about us? What you know about the history in this country? See, a lot of them, they getting on their hell no, we won't go. And then what they advocate against is against us and the position of the things that was really set in place for us to take some advantages, but they never allow us to get no advantages. Everybody has come bum rushed up in here, getting plates, eating, and then now they then got them a comfortable position, and then they can change from their position of being minorities, and now they checking the box white. Now they on the privileged side, and they say, now let's destroy it. Is that what they doing? Is that what they doing? Huh? Is that what they doing? All right, let's see. So goes on. Last part here says this. I want y'all to see this now. I want y'all to see this. Right? I got some technical difficulties over here. What's going on over here? I got some technical difficulties. Okay? And these anti-racists, they don't want a merit-based, colorblind society. They want a society of socialism, They want racial socialists, where race privilege will be a dole out at a racially proportionate rate. That's what they want, but it's not what I or a lot of other Americans want. Huh? See? Can y'all hear it? Can y'all hear inside the way he's saying this? He sound like he got some of them, he got them people's tendencies, the way he talking, and he anti somebody. Is he saying that? That's what it sounds like to me. If you got a gripe and a fight, why are you trying to put us under the bus? Why are you fucking with the shit that was made for us to progress on? Right? Why you fucking with that? If he denied you from doing it, go fight him. Why are you talking about, your skin and privilege of being black and social justice, but has nothing? Really? See? They act as if like they down with you. But you know how it is. Get somebody mad and they'll show you who they really is. Get them pissed off, get them drunk and get them mad, and they'll tell you exactly what they want to tell you about you. How they really feel about you. In this case, it ain't about that. It's about people are positioning themselves because they done said, we can take this, y'all. We can take this from them. They can't do nothing about it, right? And to show you, hold on, let me show y'all this. Let me show you this, all right? So then it was this cat came, right? And again, that was them taking Harvard. And then this is what he did. Let me show you what he did here. Let me show you this, right? So Kenny Yu got UNC to axe the DEI, and now he wants it gone at every medical school. So look what he did. He got the University of North Carolina to drop its DEI, which is diversity, equality, inclusion. I can understand you will want merit. We all understand that. It ain't that we don't understand that. We get it. But the thing is, why are you using black people's names in their mouth when you're talking about it? Why are you doing that? It's not necessary, Mr. Kenny Yu, right? Ain't no need. So now that's his picture. So the first picture you seen him, now he got a suit on. Look a little different now, don't he, huh? Right? He moving up. He's moving up in the game. Huh? He out there now. They made them an organization. He ready now. Hold on, wait till we got technical difficulty here, right? All right, so let me show what he's saying here, right? Let me show the screen here. He's dead serious about ensuring that Americans are treated by qualified doctors, not those accepted to med school because of their victim status or the color of their skin, he told the Post. See? There's only one people that fit in this country. That don't fit to nobody. If you from Haiti, does not fit you in this country. If you African, it doesn't fit you. If you're Jamaican, it don't fit you. If you Asian, it doesn't fit you. If you Mexican, it don't fit you. Only one people in this country this fit. Only one people what you talking about that fits. And y'all would like to believe, oh no, we not anti-black. We're not anti-black. Huh? And you saying accepted to med school because of their victim status. Victim status. Okay, a lot of people like to say, I'm not a victim. You can't be a victim if something really happened to you. Now, whether you want to deny it or not, or you want to say, I don't subscribe to that, but that don't make what doesn't happen ain't real. Now, those who you say use or play the card, you can't play a card that ain't a card to play. You can't use something that ain't there. Obviously, it exists. But whether people want to admit it or not, or say it's kind of like welfare. See, made black people so conscious, I don't take no handouts. And all the other people getting all the handouts. Let me say that one more again for the paper over the window class people. They made you feel so like in your conscience. I don't want no handout. I work hard, I pull my own on bootstrap. And every motherfucker around this motherfucker getting shit. Everybody getting something. And got you psychologically, I don't take nothing. And they all taking it. And then when the other ones are the most one taking it, they still find a way to make us the poster of it. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Right? And then he goes on and says, medicine is the one place where everyone agrees that DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, or equality and inclusive, should not be a criteria. I get that. We get that. But these things were set in place because of what happened to a specific people. A specific people, something was done to. And whether they try to make a real remedy or not, that's debatable. For me, I'll tell you, no, it was all fool's gold. It just want to look good. It's like a paper tiger, right? Paper tiger, but actually, had no teeth on it. But it looked good. It get them to say they did some stuff, and then in the process of it, they still held you down and let everybody else come in free. And every time you come to the door, you got to pay. Right? So we agree with you with that. We agree. The sons of highly educated Chinese immigrants, huh? The son of highly educated, because they're highly educated makes it what, better? That gives you, that's right, status, right? You come from people who are economically more status than majority of us as black folks, of us from down in the mud. So you got priority. You got priority over us. So you and the rest of y'all decide, well, it's time for us to get that shit out of the way. They just in the damn way, right? So you is determined to end what he sees as dangerous and hypocritical anti-racism and wokeism policies in higher education, especially in medical school, and bring back academic meritocracy. See? Don't get that. Don't it smell like you talking about? It's like us. Smell like black folks. Smell like black folks to me. Oh yeah, especially in med school. You're against anti-racism and wokeism, right? Funny, everything that we try to do when we try to make some moves, everybody against that. But boy, again, I don't know if some of y'all was in here when I did the part about racial etiquettes. What our people was and us was living through during the time we had to be racial etiquette. Get off the damn sidewalk. Damn, boy, auntie. Well, we were talking about auntie and uncle. Those were derogatory names by white folks who calling us. You know that, y'all? They calling us uncles and aunties. We say those are words of endearment. It's in every word that they made derogatory to. We done took the word and flipped the word and made the term endearment. So everybody say, I don't say nigga. Well, shit, every word that we done used, it was a derogatory word before. You just didn't know the history of it. And that's why they don't want to teach history. Because you're going to find out that a lot of stuff been long perpetual going on with this nonsense. Anyway, right? So let me show you, he ended up making an organization. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. Right? It's called the Mission. You're going to see that on your screen there, right? The Mission. And then that mission is called Color Us United. Color Us United, right? Now, who is united? Because anybody who's a Black American descendant, you can join the group. You'll be kind of like Tim Scott. You'll be like a lot of them, or a whole bunch of them. That's what you'll be like, right? So joining them, right? Advocating for a race-blind America. Do we like to just use race for no damn reason? Because there's a lot of people who really believe that, think that we like to talk about race. Like, what was that? What was it? I think, y'all remember when Bill Cosby was talking about the pound cake speech, right? I'm trying to remember what he said. It was something he said that when we start talking about race, he said, what was the word he said? He said something like it's, damn, I forgot what he said. He said something. It's another way to say like an aspirin or a pill, a pain reliever. What the hell was that word he said? I can't remember what it was. But he said that. And that's like when black people, when we talk about racism, it's like it's some kind of medicine for us, pain reliever, that we sit around talking about white folks and what white folks done did so that we can feel better. Either it is or it ain't. See, a lot of you want to pretend like something ain't, so just because you want to keep, and again, it's funny, you say that, no, I think the word was anal, it's called analgesic, right? Analgesic, right? I said analgesic. That was the word he said. Analgesic was like a drug. Somebody said, what the hell he say? Analgesic, ANALGESIC, analgesic. That's what he said. And the pound cake speak, analgesic. That's what he said when we talking. Oh, it's like pain relief. When we say, no, it ain't. You ain't never cured nothing. Nothing ain't never been resolved. So if you don't resolve no shit, how the hell you ever gonna cure it? Just forget about it. Just keep on moving. We just gonna educate ourselves out of this. Just educate yourself and everything is gonna be good. Now look what they doing. Now look what they're attacking. They're attacking affirmative action. I haven't even showed you that part yet. But anyway, the mission, he said, is Color Us United, advocating for a race-blind America. Color Us United is a home for those who want to live in an America united in our individuality and freedoms. We will support those who fight for a united and free America. Individuality. See, that's what that whole education, pull your bootstrap shit is about. We not a group. We're not a people. We're individuals. And that's how they get out of it. And that's why everybody said, we need unity. You can't have unity when you talk about individuality. Either you're going to come together as one, or you're just going to be an open hand trying to slap somebody to death. That's it. That's all you're going to be able to do, right? So look at this. Look what they talking about. Look at these people, man. These people coming together on behalf of us to take away, then open the floodgates. And there's many of us ain't on the wall looking, and there's a lot of them ain't gonna say it the way I'm gonna say it. They're not gonna say it. They're not gonna say it. Matter of fact, just in case somebody in here who would like to, if you should want to, you think there's any merit in there, we're always looking for a little donation so we can do the show next week. We do this every Sunday, right? We do it every Sunday. Anybody should feel they want to do it. There's something for you. We are the voice of those who oppose dividing America by race, religion, sexual orientation, and other characteristics. We resist those who divide America in the name of racial equity. In government, schools, corporation, journalism, and social media. We will promote. Yeah, you put that at the wrong time, didn't you? Put that back up. Put it down. Okay. Right? I put that down. We will promote. Now those who've been watching my show, matter of fact, I think it was the show before last. See that word he said there? We the people of the United States of America. Him think we the people. Him think we the people. There's a lot of people, black people and so forth, they be like to use that we the people. They think that's talking about them, don't they? They think we the people means them. They don't even know that we the people don't mean them. They think the Constitution means inclusive to them. A lot of people believe that. There's a lot of people, you'll hear them, they say that, and they like, wait a minute, what was you and those people when they wrote that? And what was that really about? Have you did the forensic in history to that, or you just took your, surface understanding of? Did you do the forensic history to that? Because I'm telling you, I ain't gonna tell you what I heard. I'm gonna tell you what I know. and it ain't about you. So here's him thinking thinking this about him. No, he's saying it right because somebody is puppeting him as the front to get the job done because they can't do it. They can't do it, so they got him to do it. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all seen the thumbnail, right? Y'all seen the thumbnail, right? Let me show the thumbnail again, right? I got Tim Scott on the front of that one. But you see Pachetto there, right? Well, puppet, huh? Somebody puppeting him. He's the puppet for somebody, but him don't know it. He think he wasn't doing that, right? And to show you that when he said they trying to get together and trying to have a race blind and all that, and we don't want individuality or want nothing to do with race, he went and look who they went and grabbed, y'all. Let me show y'all something. Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something. Why this African-born surgeon helped defeat unfair DEI at top medical school? An African-born surgeon came to the rescue to come help them. Is he black? They keep saying we African, right? Some of them subscribe to we African, right? And let me show you. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, let me do right there. Oh, don't run, don't run, don't run. What are you running for? What are you running for? Yeah. Going in cahoots against us. But they said, don't talk about them. Don't talk about them. No, don't say nothing. He ain't a young man either. No, he not a young man. He been around, right? Huh? Okay? Let me show the words we say. You persuaded Harvard-trained doctor Che Zama, who's 66 years old, who was born in the Republic of Cameroon and immigrated alone to the United States at 14 years old with $20 in his pocket. I'm going to talk about that. To speak at one of the anti-DEI events you organized in Chapel Hill in February, aimed at getting the UNC Medical School to back off its policies, right? Right? Che Zama, 66. Right? Him African, right? And again, did you benefit off of diversity, equity, inclusion when you was coming to medical school? You came here. Now, wait a minute. People like tell me that a person can get at 14 years old, got plane fare, and got $20 in his pocket, and got family to first is what they want you to believe. That's what they want us to believe. They like telling us them stories. Oh, my parents came here with $1 in their pocket, and they made it. No. Who sponsored you? Who housed you? What funding was you getting? So they ain't tell us all that because, see, we wouldn't know anything about none of that because why would we know about immigration and all that? All our people been here, right? All our people been here. So sell the story. He was 14 years old. He came from Cameroon with $20 in his pocket. First of all, who gonna let their kid go to a country at 14 with $20 in their pocket? Who are you staying with? You know what I'm saying? Who you entrusting them with? So there's more to that damn story, but that's what they sell us, right? But he went and got him because why? He fits a narrative. He looks the part. He gets to say he's an African American. And he's saying, I use it. And then look at the words that he says. Watch what Zama says. Zama says, the most important issue should be educational excellence, but it's the one thing missing in all the DEI policies. Zama, 66, a Pennsylvania-based cardiovascular and Look. Oh, y'all think I can't say that word? No, I can say that. Hold on. My screen will go. Hold on. Give me 1 second. About to switch. Hold on. Let me show you. Cardiovascular. Come on. Okay, there you go. And a thoracic, was it? It's thoracic, which is, I know that means chest. Thoracic surgeon who was raised in a grass hut. See? Great. What does grass hut got to do with my brain? You know what I'm saying? We get that. We understand that some people are exceptional, regardless to where they coming out of the muck and mire, out of the mud. We get that. We get that. But for some odd reason, when it comes to Black Americans, it don't apply to us. Everybody make us the worst of the worst. And even when we good, you're still trying to find the worst about us to try to promote that. No excellence amongst us, but it's excellence from a mug coming out of a grass hut, $20 in his pockets, all that, right? But when it comes to, no. You're gonna be a rapper, a ball player, or a dancer, a singer, but that's about it. Nothing to do with your brain. I remember Malcolm said, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. No. You guys are good with your hands. That's why we made the AMM schools for you. Huh? Agriculture mechanics, you're good with your hands. Right? You're only good with your hands. Right? So here's Zama, as an African born. Know damn well he done used to put his African American to get them benefits, to get through, to get the stuff to where he at now, and yet now he's spitting in the wind. Now he's spitting back at us in the wind. Yeah, you can destroy it now. I got what I want. I'm gonna help them to help destroy it now. Huh? Are you supposed to be doing that? Are you supposed to be doing that? And then he says this. Right? And all, he said, well, let's see. And all for diversity. He said, I'm all for diversity and inclusion, but I believe these issues should be grounded in excellence in education. Again, y'all keep negating the fact you coming to a country that already has a history before you got here. And there's a people associated, attached to that history. You can't say that what criteria may have been laid, that may be set, that was supposed to be for them, that you took advantage of it and used it for yourself, just like he did. And now that it has a quota system on it, they only gonna allow so many of y'all would rather destroy it so that y'all can flood more of y'all's in and the hell with us. There ain't nobody gonna say it like it's supposed to be T.I. said. Nobody gonna say it. Nobody gonna say it. And let me show you one of the hands behind the curtain.
You know, that's a good question, and it's a complex question because there isn't a real simple answer. I think what drives me and what drives this movement is the belief that America was born with a terrible scar on its history, and that is the history of slavery that then evolved into a history of Jim Crow racism against African Americans. What came out of that, what was bitterly fought on the battlefields and in the courthouses of America, is the belief that your race and your ethnicity should not be used to help you or to harm you in your life's endeavors, whether you're applying for a job, whether you're applying to be admitted to college or a medical school, whether your neighborhood is drawn into one voting district or a different voting district, your race shouldn't be used as an element in any of those endeavors. So that's what drives me, and that's what drives, frankly, the vast majority of Americans who, when polled about the use of race and ethnicity in college admissions or employment or other areas, believe that race shouldn't be a part of these decisions. That's what I think drives me the most.
Okay, right? So that's that Edward Bloom cat. He was the one that originally went back, and he was fighting that, going back. He's been fighting this a long time, right? That's that Edward Bloom, for those who don't know. That's who that is. Now, let me show you something, right? Let me show you something here, right? So let's go back a little bit of the history of it, right? When you're talking about what we're talking about here is you're going to talk about affirmative action, right? Now you can go back to 1978 with this, right? You go back to 1978 when it was about the University of California versus Bake, what is they were considering race as a factor. Now, let me tell you a little bit of this. Now, at the time, UC Davis, what they would do is they would reserve about 16 out of every 100 spots for qualified minority students. Okay. This dude named Alan Bake, who's a white man, he was denied admission to the University Medical School, despite having higher test scores than they would say he was making comparison to the minority students who admitted the same year that he went. Okay. So the court had decided that the quota system was unconstitutional, right? The quota system, okay? Quota system. And the use of affirmative action policies to remedy the effects of racial discrimination, right? Along with it. So they said the racial quota and affirmative action was unconstitutional if you use both of them, right? Then the court had ruled that schools did have a compelling interest in educational benefits by having a diverse student body. That's what they were saying, right? Okay, so there is and so they allowed them to consider race in administration, but they had to have many different factors when they do it. Race and ethnicity background, plus other applicants' parts in their file, right? Now, these are things that only they could determine how they're going to look at an applicant. So now here's somebody again, being white, having, again, you got 100 spots. They want the whole 100 spots. But no, the school, UC Davis, had to put 16 of those spots to the side for minorities. Now, see, the problem with the word minorities, again, I'm going to say this. Certain people were never supposed to be eaten from that trough anyway. You didn't put in, you don't smoke, man. Now, the reason why they have to do that is because you can't make nothing specifically for one particular group. Then everybody gonna scream unconstitutional. So they use the word colored and they use minority, and then what end up happening is we still get the short end of the damn stick. Right? We still was getting the short end of the damn stick. And so that was what they're dealing with this 1978 case, right? 1978. But then a year before that, you know, we got in the presidency seat now. You know what he was talking about back then in 1977? Did you know what he said? What did he say? Right? He was talking about, you know, they would had a commission. They was talking about busing. For some people might have been around when they was doing the busing back then. Probably if you Gen X, you probably remember about the busing, right? They were doing the busing and stuff, right? So they had a commission on this, and let me show you something here. Let me show you the president we got up in there now. Here is the actual document, the busing of school children, the hearing committee on the Judiciary, United States Senate. You can see it stamped back in September of 1977, right? And let me give you some insight on that there, right? Because that's what we do over here. We report, right? This is what we do. Now, you new over here, I suggest you go ahead and subscribe if you want to go ahead and you want to contribute to the show. I do have some people who do like to, you know, give, and I'm very appreciative, me and my family, so forth. We do be appreciative when you do. So anybody should want you, that can be up there for you. Now, Let me show you what Joe Biden and them was talking about doing there, right? Now listen to this. I want y'all to listen to this, right? This is what they were saying back in 1977. But this is what they were talking. They were just talking about the busing. Now again, remember he's fighting and saying, "Oh, we don't need the DEI, which is the diversity, equality, inclusion," and then now we're going to go after affirmative action, right? Okay. Now this is 77, which is going to be about what? 16 years, because actually. Now, let me give you a little background to how they came up with the affirmative action. Affirmative action came from John F. Kennedy, Executive Order 10925, right? About March 6th of 1961, when he made this executive order. And what it was about is requiring government contracts to take affirmative action to ensure that the applicants are employed and that the employees are treated are treated fairly during employment without any regards to their race, creed, color, or national origin. Now, that's federal contracts, right? That was what he did originally in 1961. That was John F. Kennedy. Then what happened was Lyndon B. Johnson came in 1965, and he made an executive order of 11246. And this is where they would start to include, they were saying education and stuff like that. Now, again, 1965, right? A lot of them, now you also got the immigration coming in 65, right? So the same time you getting voting rights, same time you getting civil rights, and then you talking about here it is, affirmative action, then the floodgates open and everybody coming in. Okay? Right? But yet you've been here for 246 plus up until that, right? You've been here a long damn time, right? You've been here a long damn time waiting to get in to do some things, right? Okay, but okay. Now, here's in this commission what they were talking about. These are the words that they say. Since the Supreme Court decided the Brown versus Board case in 1954, the judicial branch of government has dominated the field of the civil rights. In my opinion, it has been fortunately so until recently, either as a result of the neglect or the reluctance born out of political timidity. Members of Congress and the state legislature have avoided taking any initiatives in the civil rights field. Right? Now, you pay attention to what's being said here now. This is about busing. This ain't, right? This is them trying to bus us into different schools. Granted, the Congress in 1960s enacted landmark civil rights bill, but only after consistent prodding by the Supreme Court and outraged citizenry, right? So they didn't even really want to give the civil rights, right? We know that. So the Supreme Court forced it, and then citizen outrage. It should be no surprise, therefore, that the federal court had preempted the other branches in interpreting the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, especially in the field of education. And just heard recently, Donald Trump said the day one, he's going to do what? Violate the 14th Amendment. Did he not say that? Didn't Donald Trump just say that there was about 2 days ago? Or was that last week I did? That was last week. Last week, right? I showed you the video where Donald Trump said on day one when he get in, you know he coming in with vengeance. Y'all know that, right? He's coming in with vengeance on the stuff that they done did. They pulled on him, right? But anyway, let me show you what Joe Biden and them in this commission was talking about. And this is just busting. The average citizen and finally his representatives in the Congress have come to the conclusion that the courts have gone too far in education cases. A consensus is emerging in the nation, in my opinion, and in Congress. I hope that the courts have stretched the 14th Amendment way beyond its intended limits and requiring busing of school children to achieve racial balance. Now, this is just busing. You're using this at this time in 1977. They're trying to just get some of the children, black children, to go to other schools to try to give them a little more quality education. Because see, but people try to fail to realize, especially you new ones, you brand new smelling well. You just smell like a brand new car. You just got here yesterday. Y'all want to come here, rah-rah, talking, taking positions about stuff when you don't know the history of it and you don't care to know the history. We've been fighting through this a long damn time. This ain't been this been a long fight. So that's why I think it's preposterous that you bring your ass and talk about what you trying to take away because you don't believe about race. You don't believe in, you want to blind America. Well, if that were the case, you should go back to where your people ran from and see how blind it is there. But you ain't going to do that. Nah, you ain't going to do nothing like that because you're going to make me to be anti-immigrant. But that ain't what it is. I'm just going to tell like a TI is. But anyway, moving on. Now, this is what them saying again. They said too many Americans and certainly the residents of my state. Now, this is Joe Biden talking. Too many Americans. Who we mean when he say code word Americans, y'all? Too many who? Certainly the residents in my states have been offended by recent Supreme Court decisions, which have, in the opinion of some of us, permitted manifest injustice in the name of achieving equal rights. I see the trend among my fellow citizens of viewing federal court decisions as irrational, capricious, and incomprehensible as a threat to the very fabric of our society, and more directly as the most serious threat to the continuation of the civil rights movement in America. Congress must, in my opinion, finally step in and halt this erosion of confidence. Erosion of confidence. You're trying to be bold, trying to get, what? Y'all being bold, huh? It is indeed unfortunate that Congress has not taken the lead in formulating policies in this area. So they were upset with just busing, taking kids out of dilapidated, ran down 100-year back materials in school and trying to bring them and put them in the school that you would so they can get a quality education. And they was like, hell no, we ain't trying to do that, right? We ain't trying to do that. Now, where was you at, Mr. U? Where was your family at, Mr. U? Zama, where was you? You 66. Was you coming in at that time? When you say if he's 66 in 2023, take 23 off, that'll leave how much? That'll leave about 43 years left. So that'll leave about what you can. Yeah, Mr. Zama, you came here at the time of to get the benefits of what Lyndon B. Johnson set up. You was here. Okay, ain't that something? Anyway, let's move on, right? So now, as a whole thing simmering down, as the country paid less attention to it, we got more integration and less confusion. Now it's going to be, now this is what we say, now it is going to be chosen up over it. I think it is unfortunate that Senator Biden says, do you think that, to use your phrase, side would be chosen if we are into major desegregation orders in 20 major cities? That they are going to move on from Philadelphia to Los Angeles? Do you really think this issue has gone away? And this dude that he's talking to, name is Mr. Greenberg. He said, I do not think the issue is going away. No important public issue goes away. See, even he knows that no public issue goes away. But they want it to go away. They don't want us talking about it, right? However, I would hope that we can be counted upon to approach its sensitivity and effectively without the additional complications of political controversy and now a judicial tangle, which we will be inextricably if this bill is passed. Just to mention something else for the moment, this bill brings back 3 judge courts, which the Congress has been fought for 20 years to get rid of. They didn't want a 3-court system because it'd be too easy to pass. All you need is 2 to 1, right? So they said, no, we can't keep this 2 to 1. It's gonna be too easy for them to pass this. So we need to put more judges. So that's why you got as many you got now, right? But anyway, so Senator Biden says, in my opinion, and the major co-sponsors of the bill and others who are co-sponsors disagree with me, but I hope to think that there are real serious problems with the 3-judge court. I do think that there may have been some questions about the wisdom in the way which the stays are written here. I think there is some tightening that can occur in the language. See, some tightening. We got to fix this language. We got to make it so it fits the way, kind of way we want it, but we're not giving up too much. Right. However, I do not think that the basic thrust of this bill is really unconstitutional. I do not think, or obviously I would not have introduced it. I say, obviously, you do not know me, so you might think that I would obviously introduce it, but I would not introduce it unless I thought it was a sound social policy. We have a fundamental disagreement, you and I suspect, as to what it is needed to ensure that we do not have an orderly, that we do have orderly integration of society. I'm not just talking about education, but all society. Now, this is 1977. The man that's speaking at this time is a senator, Joe Biden. And even Joe Biden is saying, they was like, hold on, wait a minute. They moving too fast. We got to slow this up. I mean, we talk about education, but we talking about all of society. They trying to see. So here you is, just you talking about something of the day of you going to school in 2020 something. This goes back history. We as Black Americans in this country have always been on the front line fighting to get whatever crumbs that fall off the table. Now you come and eating some of the crumbs, or now you gathering more crumbs. Now you don't want us getting no crumbs, and then you saying the hell with our history. I beg your pardon, right? I beg your damn pardon, right? So he goes on and said, I do not know your total position. Mr. Taylor has stated his has others, and I'm anxious to hear from him. All right, so now we're gonna get to the we got this. We're gonna get this part here because I'm gonna show you, right? Let me show you your president. This your king words, right? Let me show you what he said, right? Now I'm gonna put it on the screen for you what he said. Now I want you to see the words. I'll take that off, take that off, take that off, take that off. Take that off. Yeah, take that off. Just in case somebody. Okay. Now look at this. Now look at the words he says. Now watch the words that he says. I want you to see with your own eyes. You heard me read what the transcript was saying. Now this is the part here when they said he didn't say that. Right? Unless we do something about this, my children are going to grow up in a jungle. The jungle being a racial jungle with tensions having built so high that it is going to explode at some point. We have got to make some moves on this. You say I'm throwing the brick. I am not as good at analogies and homilies as all of you are, but I think pushing busing in a way in which it goes beyond the constitutional mandate is like throwing a bus through the civil rights window. I think it has repercussions that are extensive in the terms of the ultimate object of seeing that we get integrated neighborhoods, of seeing that we eventually eliminate job discrimination, of seeing that we change housing patterns, or seeing alterations of the tax structures, right? Okay, so yeah, jungle, right? Remember, Lean on Me, right? And that scene when they start off on with Lean on Me, y'all seen that movie, right? With the school, with Morgan Freeman was they used to call me Joe, now they call me Batman, right? Crazy Joe, now they call me Batman, right? And remember in the beginning when it come on, they got a student or a white person on a stretcher on the ambulance, and they wheel him, and then the song is like, "Welcome to the jungle." Da, da, da. Huh? Y'all remember that? Yeah, right. Always the jungle. I know where I grew up, but they called the area, they used to call it the jungle. Where I lived, this place, they used to call it the jungle, and that's all where we lived at. We lived in the jungle, right? So here he is saying if we don't do something, they're gonna live in the jungle. But then he says it's going to explode at some point. And we see his son today, right? Right? You seen him in the hotel sleeping. Got paraphernalia next to his face, right? So obviously he went to good schools, right? Good schools he went to, right? But see, the thing is, we got history here, and so when you come in messing with it, y'all, they thinking that the few years, okay, so we saying 65 is when you so-called making so-called affirmative action really don't come into the 90s, 80s, and 90s when it really implemented. And then y'all slick enough to throw white woman in there like she ain't part of the family. You know what I'm saying? They're like Beauty and the Beast. They threw her over there, like go over there with the beast, go sleep with the beast. You know, go over there with the beast. You know, they do the white woman. They do make their white woman. She sleep with beasts and okay, you see all kind of movies, The Fly, all that shit. She might be all that shit, right? But so anyway, So you threw her in there. So you really still kind of undermined, you know what I'm saying? You still kind of undermined by throwing her in there. And then y'all start throwing LGBT, then you got minor. So it's everybody was eating at the trough. That should not have been at the trough because it had nothing to do with that. The only people who were really disenfranchised and that was affecting never really got a chance to benefit off of it. And then you have people that's amongst us in our group who think because they went to school and they was able to do well for themselves, that the rest of you, well, you know, you shit out of luck, right? SOL, y'all shit out of luck. It just wasn't chosen like the rest of us. Okay, now what you finna say, now everybody flooding in here, and now they gonna get rid of your ass. Then you gonna have to live next to Pookie and Ray Ray. Then what you gonna say then? When your ass got to live next to Pookie and Ray Ray? No, you don't think that can happen. You think y'all position yourself so well that now he don't need you now. He don't need you. Remember in the beginning of the intro of my show, Ann Coulter says that they were going to get rid of the blacks and get the Hispanic. And the Hispanic dudes said, they're not doing that. They're not doing that. What you got to say now? Is that what they doing? Is they not doing that? Okay. All right. Don't pay attention to me. Right? So listen to this dude talking about how, again, he said that put a thumb on the scale because we get the advantage of this. And it's like, but we ain't the beneficiaries of it. Everybody else benefited but us. But listen to what he said. Listen.
The United States law today, as interpreted about 20 years ago by the Supreme Court, allows colleges and universities to put a thumb on the scale based upon a student's race or ethnicity. In the case of Harvard and other elite universities, that thumb on the scale is now diminishing the opportunity of Asian Americans to be admitted, while boosting the likelihood that African Americans, Hispanics, and whites will be admitted. And this is a story that's not only going on at Harvard, but at competitive universities like Yale and Princeton and Stanford and dozens of other colleges.
So what does that mean?
Summary.
Okay. So again, he said put the thumb on the scale. Like, you know, they helping you to get in by putting the thumb on the scale. That thumb on the scale come from our history. And see, the thing is, you admit the fact that you know about the history, but then you try to say, well, we shouldn't use race as a way to, get some, but it was race that was used to deprive us, to disenfranchise us, to what you say, Jim Crow us, right? All these things were things of prevention, of, again, to, I guess you could say, to stunt the development, I think that what they call arrest the development. Yeah, that's basically what it is. You put a copper band around a people. Now, again, of course, some people came out of it because not everybody come out of the same conditions, even though we may be in the same group, because we all have different stories and backgrounds that may be something to do with maybe your daddy was a massa and gave you a package. And you had a good start off, that lineage, that line of yours may came from that. Because, I wonder what the criteria is being in some of these organizations. And I heard that some of it has something to do with that part of it, right? So that means that some of them, when they start off, they didn't start off as bad as others. It's just like saying, imagine, let's say this is 1865, right? And they are so-called emancipated. And they say, okay, you're free. But where the hell was you supposed to go? You can't go nowhere. And then, there was also a pandemic at that time. A lot of people don't even talk about that. There was a pandemic at the time of the emancipation. So we was out there, people was getting sick, right? But you ain't got nowhere to go. So they're going to make a contract and say, if you go back there and sign a contract, they're gonna promise to pay you. How that turned out, right? So we always got the shit end of the stick, right? Every time. And every time you try to make some way, again, here they come with misery. You're gonna hobble your ass every time. Now this time they're hobbling you Now what? They doing it right in everybody's face under the guise of immigration, right? They're gonna do it in immigration. Okay. Now, on your screen there, this is the one they went in 2003, right? They went 2003 to fight with it. Now, listen to this in 2003. What they going to fight with it, right? So this is, they had two decisions in 2003. They had the Grutter versus Bollinger, and supposedly this case had laid out the blueprint for what they call race-conscious admission that was used by the universities. Now, these suits of both of them were by white people, and they were denied admission into the University of Michigan. Now, the Gratz versus Bollinger, her name was Jennifer Gratz, and then the other person's name was Patrick Hammacher. What they did is they sued the universities over the point-based admission system. The University of Michigan granted admissions to any applicants who scored more than 100 points of the 150-point scale. Members of the what they call underrepresented minorities, right? And what they would do, and when you talk about putting a thumb on the scale, they would give 20 points. So they had automatically 20 points plus whatever they would get out of the 150. And so the person that ended up suing because they couldn't get in, they said, well, virtually every qualified applicant from the minority group was admitted based on because they got the 20 points, right? And so what they found, the courts ended up finding that the point system was unconstitutional and that race had nothing to do with considering the individual's basis. Now, I agree with that, right? You gave 20 points, but again, the word minority, people of the minority group, everybody was not supposed to benefit. And that was the whole problem from the beginning. Anybody agree or disagree? Should everybody had gotten that when you know that what you were trying to make amends was for a specific group? And so that's why, yeah, wouldn't you, if I came from another country, come here and this is the greatest country in the world, they're getting free, I'm all this stuff and schooling and all that, all I gotta do is, right? Hey, damn right, you say this is the best place in the damn world. I'm not telling you that this is not. I'm just saying that the part of the cut of the pie that entitled that we should have gotten, we didn't get. And we got to act like we got something or act like, well, that's over with, we just moving forward today. As Tim Scott said, look in the windshield and not the rear view mirror. I can't drive without looking at my rear view mirror. I don't know about y'all or my side mirrors. I need to see what's behind me. So if I go left or right, I need to know if flashing lights behind me, the police, I need to see my rear view mirror. Now, anybody who does that, then, teach his own, but not me, right? So that's what that is, right? So that's what they're trying to say. Okay. So now the other part to this, right? The other part. Hold on one second. I got some. Okay. Now the second part to this kite, what you see on your screen is 2003. You have the sister. Now both of them Gratz were sisters. The second sister name was Barbara, and she was trying to get into law school at the same university. But the court had upheld the basic concept behind affirmative action and considered the race of the applicants. And as long as they narrowly tailored the individual ways, then the courts had said that by 5-4 votes, they said that it was constitutional. They said it wasn't the way that she got excluded. It wasn't solely based on the fact of just race. They had other criteria. So she didn't win. Right. And so what had was the race conscious program. They said they should not exist permanently. Now, what I want you to see how in 2003, they're going to tell you, they're going to give you a prophecy. There was a judge, a conservative judge named Sandra Day O'Connor. And in her writing as for the majority, this is what she said. She said that in 25 years from now, That's 2003. She said in 25 years from now, from the time she's writing in 2003, the use of racial preference will no longer be necessary. What did she know? What did she know that they were going to do what they're going to do? People say they haven't done it yet, but most people pretty much know they're about to do it, right? They're about to overturn it, right? And she said in 2003, they're going to overturn it in 25 years, which would be 2028, right? But then 2020, going to be 24, we're 23, right? So, that'd been 20 years ago. Okay. So she right on target. Now, you remember hearing that Bloom say that, okay, they discriminate against Asians. And then he said, and then he talked about the thumb on the scale. And then he said that blacks, Hispanics, and even whites are now, You know why he can say even whites are now, you know why he can say that? Because white people are now becoming the minority. And so now once was from the front, now falling into the minority, which now they can get back into it again. Right? So now he's advocating on the Asians are being discriminated against. Ain't that something? So they knew in 2003, for those who've seen the show that I showed you what Joe Biden said in 2015? No, was it 2017 or 15 that he told you the reason why they was flooding up all the people that come in here as immigrants is because they were going, and it's in 2017, they would be a minority, right? And that would be the strength of their stock. That's what he said. And so now that they're going to be a minority, they get to qualify in the group, so there's no need for you to have that no more because there'll be no discrimination. Damn. In how many years? Black folks ain't even probably had that shit. Not even 30 years. Probably not even a good 20 good years of people being able to use affirmative action. And that's sufficient enough. It's because, again, I believe a lot of these other groups are now checking that white box. But that's just me talking, right? So he said, we could do this another way. Why don't we do this another way? Listen what he says.
Is against race-based affirmative action, having race as an element. However, we encourage Harvard and other universities to use socioeconomic affirmative action. Change your internal policies that make it easier to attract a truly diverse group of individuals, not just diverse by skin color and hair texture, but people who have come, young people who have come from very different backgrounds than what Harvard has today.
I guess my gut feeling would be that a lot of people who are conservative might feel this is a ancient college with its own history, its own religious traditions, it's a private institution, although it receives funding from the state, rather like a club or any kind of private organization. They should have the right to arrange the people who come around the sort of ethos of the college in some way. I think there's a libertarian objection to what you're saying, which is that in effect it's the state not allowing you to make your own decisions as a private institution. What would you say to those people?
Well, we have a solution to those objections, and that is Harvard can forego receiving federal funds. There are a handful of colleges and universities in the United States that have done exactly that. They do not accept federal funds. Hillsdale College is probably the best known. If Harvard chooses to not accept federal funds, then they can shape the class any way they would like. And further to that point, talking about, what would the conservative kind of cohort think if indeed various colleges and universities had 50% Asian. Well, we saw that outcome, or close to that outcome, in the state of California. Asian admissions rates at the two most competitive schools in the University of California system, Berkeley and UCLA Los Angeles, saw their Asian population skyrocket in 1997 and 1998. Yet, here it is in 2020. The population there could have said that there's just too many Asians, but they chose not to do that. So I don't think the conservative or even liberal factions in this country would object if, based upon a meritocratic, fair system, that the outcome shows that Asian Americans make up a significant majority at any college or university.
Right? All right, so you heard him say that, right? Now, again, you know, the difference between a public and a private institution or business, some of the stuff of the Constitution you can't enforce on them. So you heard the interviewer say, well, if they're private, can't they do what they want to do? And he said, well, we don't have a problem if they do that. But then he said, then he did like the United States do with a lot of motherfucking places, right? He said, well, shit, we can forego their federal funds. He want to put an economic sanction on them if they, you get what I'm saying? He said, well, we can put an economic sanction on them. Well, let's forego their federal funds if they don't want to abide by it, right? Now, again, he appears to be, he's, a white man who's fighting for the Asians because they're getting, they're getting shafted, right? Then he said, there's other schools that done took down this, this barrier, and the Asians have skyrocketed in schools who dropped all this on this race base. And he said, well, why won't Harvard? See, what he's doing, he's got this subtle little pro-Asian, it's like a storefront, right? Like that's what the true agenda is, right? But really, he's really in the back. He's a storekeeper. He's back in the back. He got the cashier in the front. That's Mr. U. But he's the dude behind in the background, really orchestrating it. Because again, his story go back to when he tried to run in politics. He tried to run and he ended up losing to a person who was Hispanic. And he said that they gerrymandered the district. That's the reason why he lost. And then he went on this big ass crusade. He fought against civil rights. You know what I'm saying? He been fighting a long time. Then what he did is he made an organization and he started getting people and picking up people who said they were getting discriminated against and kept fighting the system. And matter of fact, there are organizations out here that pay for people like him to fight against, to take away some of those pillars and institutional things that Black people have. When you talk about lobbyists and things, they have organizations that are out here that fund these people. And he made an organization and got them, and then he made him an organization. You see what they were doing. So it's like, we have to be paying attention to this. This isn't about race or hate nobody. We're just seeing the game people playing. Again, I'm the most hated show on the Black corner of YouTube. Been in the business for 11 years. They won't let me get 200 views. I did a video back in 2014, Extinction of the White Race, went about 300,000. And from that day forth, somebody said, he'll never go again. And I've been down here yelling up at the ceiling for the last 7-8 years. So if you see me came across here, you may caught this show, but go by, subscribe. We do this on the weekly. We say things that may not be politically correct. We put it out there. So just in case you didn't know. Now let's look at this racial quota thing, right? When you talk about racial quota, you really talk about employment and education, which are just really, numerical requirements for hiring and promoting, admitting, and sometimes even graduating members of a particular racial group. Racial quotas are often established as means of diminishing racial discrimination. You have the quotas because you're trying to make amends for some stuff that doesn't happen, Racial quarters are there for a reason, right? They say affirmative action hire, right? They say Clarence Thomas, a lot of people affirmative action hire, right? Or the quota nigga hire, right? We had to hire a couple blacks, right? And why is that? Because the game been rigged. But now when you say color, right? When you use minorities, right? You actually widen the umbrella to let's say hypothetically, let's say I don't like a particular person, but I have to, according to the rules of the game, I have to deal with people that's like of this person I don't like. I can pick everybody else but him and still play the game and say that I'm playing the game correctly. Do I have to say that one more again? I can not like you and have other people who fit on the same criteria as you and give them favor without really dealing with you and still say I'm playing the game legitimately. This is what I'm saying as to why I don't think people who come from other places should have been benefiting, because it was never pertaining about you anyway. You came in and got in. And you say you talking about meritocracy and all that. What's all this great talent and hard work in other nations can't see? It can't be seen there. Why can't we see it there? You got to go somewhere to show that you can do what you can do, but not in your own homeland. Not willing to take the fight to do what's necessary of people who are your own. And the difference by here is we are occupied prisoners of war of our own land by somebody else. Then it compounded when you come, the other one come, they come. So now what happens is everybody on our damn backs. It's like Neo in the Matrix fighting all the agents. Remember, Neo could fight all the agents, but he couldn't whoop them all. He had to fly up out of there. Is that what y'all want? That's what y'all want? That's what they want, y'all. They want us to fly up out of here. Die or fly, right? That's what they want. But it's on the low. They ain't really trying to tell you that. You're going to ask, oh, it's about meritocracy. It's about the best man. So it's about you, right? But they don't, all the other contributing factors of being the people of the history in this land that has no merit in meritocracy. That doesn't count because you're in the way of all the people we want to funnel in so that we can take advantage of it. Is it anti-black or is it just meritocracy, dog eat dog, fittest, strongest of the fittest, right? All that nonsense, right? Anyway, well, let me show you something about that. Let me show you just in case somebody, yeah, you hate on them. No. See, let's look at this, right? Then Harvard got a background too, right? Harvard has ties in slavery, right? They have plans to redress, right? They know how they benefit off of the past and the people. They know what they've done, right? The medical association, right? MAM, MAA, whatever the hell it is. They built, right? They know what they made off of it, and right? They all know, right? They all know. But see, everybody else come here and you brand new, just being born, you seeing the tides now. And so you think, well, isn't that enough? And then, it's holding us back. I mean, we're all getting great SATs. We do better. Our school, you're not traumatized for generations and generations and generations. You're not going through, could be paper genocide as well, legislation genocide, all kinds of sides been taken, right? But let me show you something. Let me show you how slick they is. I showed y'all this last time. In South Africa, Chinese is the new black. Did you know that? Huh? And so in the high court, right? and South Africa ruled, it was Wednesday at that time, that Chinese South Africans will be reclassified as black, a term that includes black Africans, Indians, and my screen's a little small on my screen here, who were subject to discrimination under apartheid. As a result of this ruling, ethnically Chinese citizens will be, let's see, hold on. My screen that I'm seeing is much smaller than one y'all seeing. It's actually extra tiny. I don't know why it's that damn tiny, but I'm pretty sure some of y'all should have now. Am I reading? I can read. I can read. Right? As a result of this ruling, ethnically Chinese will be. I can't. Well, hold on. I got technical difficulties over here. Somebody over here is trying to. Somebody out there not like it. They're putting the hoodoo on my shit. Get out of here. Right? So anyway, what happened is in South Africa, Chinese had been deemed, labeled as black. Then they were benefiting in some of the programs of affirmative action in South Africa. Then what happened is they end up getting an upgrade in becoming white. They were labeled as, they got honorary white status. And then when they realized that they couldn't get the same benefits that they were getting in South Africa, they sued South Africa for putting them as white. And they wanted to go back to be black so they could get the benefits. Oh, you don't believe me? I mean, let's put it on the screen. Let's see for yourself. Let's see for yourself, right? All right, 2006, the Chinese Association of South Africa sued the government, claiming that its members were being discriminated against because they were being treated as whites, and thus, I can't see that, hold on. Failed to qualify for business contracts, hold on, and jobs, promotions reserved for victims of apartheid. See, same thing like here. Getting benefits of Black Americans for civil rights and affirmative actions and all those things that should have been afforded to Black Americans. It's the same thing like it was in South Africa. You flip-flop to get what you want. You flip-flop. Or when you wanted to be honorary white because you wanted the privilege and status and that. But then when you couldn't get the thing that you was really benefiting off economically, you wanted to go back to that so you could get it. So don't that kind of sound a little similar like here? Don't sound a little similar, right? Sound familiar, right? But that was in South Africa, right? So here you was being able to be in the minority group, and then when you start filling up your quota numbers, you saying, well, we're being limited because we got a lot more applicants that do qualify based on the criteria, and we're being held back because of this racial quota. But that's the only reason why you was able to get in there like that in the first damn place. So now you say, well, why don't we just destroy that? And then that way, if we make it about meritocracy, we know we're gonna have better numbers than the blacks, so we ain't got to worry about that. And so what does that do for the, so Black people can't have doctors for them people because you gotta be off with you. And then we have to trust you, right? And some of you don't like us, same way like a lot of other people. So y'all don't like us. So we have to run the Medicare with y'all. And, we need to have representation of ourselves in there. Whether you say it's the top doctor or not, we don't know if all them doctors you see, all of them is straight A students. Shit, what you need, 3.4, 3.6, still could be a doctor, right? Right? So it's not always the 4.0, the 4.4, whatever the hell, right? It ain't always that. But sometimes you just need representation because somebody will give you better care because they come from you. And sometimes you need that. So we trusting other people. That means that somebody could slip a Mickey on us, and we got trust in you because you represent us. Yeah, we understand Hippocratical oath and all that, but that don't mean you didn't have, you don't have Dr. Kevorkians and shit like that. Anyway, right? So let's just look at some of these numbers as I'm going to get out of here, right? So look at this, right? Look at these college numbers, right? Look at these. Now this is white folks according to the statistics. I'm going to get out of here because I'm over 3 hours. I shouldn't have been this long. But look at these statistic numbers, right? Now look at the Asian numbers. Look at the Asian numbers, right? 6.6% of college graduates, right? 69%, right? You see them numbers? 69%. Now look at the black folks. Look at black folks in college. Look at the numbers. And when you say black, all them ain't black Americans, that's blacks of all of us, of Caribbeans, continentals, Americans. 1%. 1%. Look at the Hispanic numbers. Look at the Hispanic numbers. Right? So here you is. Look at the numbers again that you get. Look at the numbers you represent and you get it, and you still want more. You greedy as shit. You're greedy. You're just greedy. You got 6.6%. And you still want more. You still want more at our expense. But then people say that we all good, we all cool with each other. No, I don't think that's what that is. I just think that some people are vying the position and they say, hey, let's keep them down at the bottom. Then we always know that we better than somebody in this bitch. Right? Well, take it for what you want. It's another episode of WeUpReport. But, yeah, some of our people who might even think like this.
See, when this war's over, things are going to change. And I want him to be ready for it. I'm sending some big white college. Let him rub elbows with the whites. Learn the white man's language, how he does things.
White don't rub off.
Well, what we going to do? Stay behind and everything? Hell, you can see it there in the Army. White man running rings around him.
A lot of us didn't have the chance some white boys had, Sarge.
Oh, that ain't no excuse. My daddy shoveled coal from the back of a wagon all his life. Couldn't read or write, but he saw to it that we did. Now, not having is no excuse for not getting.
Can't get pee from a tree, Sarge.
You just like the rest of them, Wilkie. Ignorant. Scared. Stop thinking like a nigger. See, when this war's over...
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy. Remember,